Hello, it's Keith Keller in Melbourne, Australia again. We had a great show yesterday, went 3 hours. Just time flies when you're having fun. And we have an amazing guest, Amanda Mills from Melbourne, another Melburnian. We've known each other for years and years and years and years. And she's just written a book called From Media Shy to Media Savvy. We're going to talk about the book, and we're going to talk about two main things today. We're going to talk about how do you prepare for media interviews on the radio and the TV. Now, the credibility factor of these is enormous, and people are still doing them and getting gigs out of the kudos that comes from that. We're also going to talk a lot about the idea of podcasting and how to get on more podcasts. There are millions of podcasts now, and everyone's heard of them. And you may not have your own yet, but these podcasters need guests, and we're going to talk about how to do that. Amanda has this great book. We're going to talk a lot about this great book today, and so add some comments. We're going to go as long as we go. If you've got any questions and any comments, add those to the chat. It's a live format. It's very, very, very cool. Americo's there in Toronto. He'll be coming in later for a bit of Q&A. And just add your comments there. I've decided that I want to get, just for fun, 100 comments in the first hour. And that'll give the LinkedIn algorithm a bit of a boost, hopefully. Hello from Alabama. I've never heard it called Bama. That's good. Hello from Bama. Yeah. That's good. That sounds like an Aussie town. I'm just calling in from Bama.
That's short for Alabama.
So Lynn and America are in the call. Because this is the Wednesday main show, I'm sending the file to YouTube and to LinkedIn. But I really want you to focus, if you can, on LinkedIn because it has 1 billion users. And I'd love you to tell me where you're calling in from. And more importantly, what time is it there? Because people often say, mate, Wednesday, 10 o'clock Melbourne time. What does that mean to me? Well, I don't know where you are. Where are you? I'm in Chicago. Well, I think that's probably 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. Then my brain's got to calculate what time it is. So why don't we have a bit of fun? Where are you listening from? What time is it there? Hello from Ohio. Hello, Noor. And as I predicted, 8 p.m. Eastern time in Toronto, New York, Miami, I think in Bama. So that's very, very cool. Just in case you're wondering why we're using LinkedIn so prominently, it has 1.1 billion users. Look at these numbers. This is a radio network. This is going to take off. I've got some stats for you about that in a minute. And just in case you can't listen to the whole show or you don't really want to hear my voice, I created a whole series of AI-generated interviews, 226 of them. They don't take me very long. I love doing it. SoundCloud.com/Keith Keller. There's 5-minute snippets there about the essence of what we talk about on the show, just in case you haven't got the time to listen to the whole show as a replay. We talk often about what's next, what's coming. I often say that I'm from 2030 and I came back in 2020 and got stuck here. And I'm trying to convince people about the future because things are coming, and I know that. I feel it in my bones, but I can't explain it to people. People think I'm really, really weird. 7 p.m. in Alabama. Okay, so you must be on Central Time, unless you don't have daylight saving. So that is in itself a bit of a discussion. And hello from Tracy, who is in China at the moment, 2 hours behind us. This is very interesting. Toronto, Bama. I'm just trying to work out where Noor said she was from. Ohio. So look, this is the whole world. This is a new format, Amanda. Isn't it just so cool what we're doing here?
Yeah, it's so dynamic, Keith. It's like it moves really quickly, so much interaction as well. You've got all the sounds happening. You're really a one-man show with these great guests.
I am.
And great support. Yeah, I love it.
And now a word from our sponsor. See, I'm hello from Singapore. You
I
know,
love it.
Singapore. Look at that. Singapore, Ohio, China, Toronto, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. We're covering the world.
Yeah.
So tell us. First things first. Let's have a chat about your book. Tell us about
Mm.
the book. What was your inspiration for it? It's 2025, but a lot of this stuff just lives forever. What's the inspiration for the book, and what's it about?
Well, the inspiration was really I had clients that were, I always offered media training as well as doing PR for clients, but I had some clients that weren't really good once I got them a great media opportunity. Like I got them on radio and that's the gig they wanted, but they had really bad anxiety, or I got them some TV. Um, I had one particular client, we got a series of, you know, different segments on TV. And luckily I knew the producer really well because when we were filming, and I probably can't give too much away, but they were in the health field. They actually got really bad anxiety about what they were saying because they were really concerned. Oh, I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have said that. So I'd actually have to go back to the producer and say, can we just edit that bit out? And because I had a really close relationship with her, I was able to do that. But you can't always do that with mainstream media. I mean, you could do that with yourself, Keith, but, you know, and especially if something's live, you can't take it back. So that was the inspiration, really. Some clients really, you could put them on an interview and they just shined and people wanted them back on. And then others, I could get them this really great opportunity I worked really hard to get, but then they didn't execute well. So that was really the inspiration behind it, just helping people get a little bit more prepared. And if you've got anxiety, then, you know, don't be showing up late, and make sure you understand the format and have as much information as you can. And I do try to prepare them as much as possible, but yeah, just that was really the inspiration, I guess, helping people that were suffering a bit of anxiety, and so helping people that were feeling, you know, that they weren't prepared for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've all seen interviews where we thought, geez, I should have sent him to a man. And like, they just, I'm sure you see interviews all the time and you go, oh man, why didn't you just ring me? Come
I
on,
mean, you see
why
them
didn't you
what
just do
what
some prep?
you see the host, you know, you know, sort of almost like, yeah, they've got to get them off because they're just waffling. There is no point to what they're saying. So, and there's no take home for the listener. So, yeah, get them off.
Yeah.
Move them along. That's what they do. And they won't have
But
them back on.
while we're waiting for actual questions from the audience, and please do that in the comments or DM me if that suits you better. What are some of the main takeaways that we can learn straight away? That
I,
what are some things we can do to prepare?
so to prepare, I would actually look at other interviews by that particular host so you can get their style. Have a good listen in. Look at, you know, look at the format, so it's knowing, you know, the format as well, which I will usually do up a little document that tells them all this sort of information, like, is it live, is it pre-recorded, when will it air, how long does it go for. You know, if you can, questions would be great if you can actually provide questions if they're too busy. That's a little trick as well. If often you'll find some media are just too busy to actually give you the questions, and if you're concerned about what you're going to be asked, I mean, if you're if you're an expert in your field, you should be able to answer most questions. But some people do get a little daunted by the questions, and if you are, then ask if you can provide questions, and that way. And I know you've talked about that, Keith. You've had some guests that have provided questions, haven't you? Or you even asked, have you got some questions you want me to ask? So that's
Yeah,
a good
I
way to control. Yeah, go.
there's a couple of things going on here. One is we are as hosts, we are very busy and we want to make the guests comfortable, but practically, it's not always
Yeah.
very sensible to send things ahead. So I often ask the guests what the questions they want to ask, and but I tell you a little hack just to pick up on what Lynn was saying.
Yeah.
Um, there's this little hack I use and let's talk about how to prepare for interviews mentally, emotionally.
Yes. Yeah.
So I walk around the house about an hour before, and I pretend I'm on the BBC.
Ah, very good. Well,
So I
one of
walk
the things,
around going, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I just pretend that I'm being interviewed by David Attenborough. And I go,
Yeah.
well, thanks, David. And I just get in the zone and I get my voice going and I get my mojo and I get my sort of posture. And
Yeah.
mentally, I'm ready. I'm in the zone. We talk about this. You're in the zone. But what do you think? What are some tips to calm the nerves before a radio spot or a podcast interview? Everyone asks this one.
Yeah, so if you're feeling anxious, I wouldn't be drinking coffee. So that's just one tip. Don't start your day with some coffee because that's going to make you feel more anxious. And it's really centering yourself and maybe just having that sort of like, clearing some space. So whether it's not like a tiny little meditation or a little like breathing is so good. We always forget about breathing, to sit and breathe really deeply, and that can really help you. But one of the other things is we always, see athletes getting ready and they limber up. So you should be limbering up your mouth. So it's like, doing like those little exercises like red leather, yellow leather, just getting yourself ready. So I've even watched, different sort of hosts, etc., and they start doing those. I see them getting their voice and their themselves ready for it. So yeah, that could be other things that you could do. But I think as much as you're prepared, if you're prepared, then you're right to go.
Yeah, because preparation is the point. And what about something like joining Toastmasters or what we call rostrum here, or a sort of
Yeah,
a public speaking club? I talked
that's.
yesterday about impro. I mean, but would that work? Something like getting up in front of people and practicing speaking.
I think that's a really great idea because if you've got a problem already, then or you're really anxious about that, and I think that isn't it that people are more scared of public speaking than death or something is. So I think if you
Three
are
times more
really.
gin. Ah, wow, I love this gin. Oh man, that's it. Alcohol solves all things.
Gin is a great way to limber up. I like that. So
Oh
So
wow! But look,
skip the
this is
coffee and have
important.
a gin is one of the suggestions from America. So that's not in my book. But
Yeah,
also you want to keep hydrated. People don't realize that. I've seen someone interviewed live by TV, and they just started getting so anxious, and they get that sticky mouth where they're like, where they can't, you know what I mean? They can't. The mouth is really getting sticky. So keeping hydrated. Um, and just even things like what to wear, and so when you're sitting down, if you're being interviewed, how are you being interviewed, are you outside, so all those sorts of, the more information you have about it, the more you'll feel comfortable, and be ready for it, and they usually, like you said, Keith, most of the hosts want you to be comfortable and they want you to perform at your best.
yeah. Most
Yeah.
people are not out to get you.
No, they're not, unless you're a politician. Everyone thinks, oh no, that's, I guess if you're a politician, they may be out to get you.
Yeah. This
um,
this is a great question. Do you have a
mm.
preference for someone starting out? Should we start with a radio interview or a podcast or perhaps the newspaper? Because you would
I
have
would,
done all three of these. What do you
I
think?
actually think print is really good. Like print, when we say print, we mean digital as well. So I think that's easier because often it will be, they may send you the questions. They might even get you to send back. You can just send back your questions. That's pretty easy. Or they'll just do an interview with you at a certain time. They'll be writing all the notes, and it's a little bit, you can check with them, and if they're really, you might be even able to say, can I just check before it goes to print, just in case, factually I can check it to make sure I gave the information is correct. So you could
Yeah.
do that if it's a really friendly. They may not, but look, always ask. There's no harm in asking.
Let's have a chat about this. This is a very, very good question. I went out on Monday to a cafe and they had the paper right there. And
Mm.
look, got quite literally, it was 10 pages. It was thinner
No,
than my
no,
thumb.
yeah,
I mean, there was
yeah.
nothing in it. I picked it up and I said, "What? Is there something missing?" I said, "No, that's Monday's paper. It's got the front page and the sport. There's nothing else. What else is there? No one reads the paper, Keith." Ah,
It's
okay.
online. It's online. So I don't know if they'll exist anymore down the track. It'll probably become less and less that we actually see a print actual paper. I don't think. who knows how much longer they'll be around, but I don't see them around. The only time people tend to is like in the cafes, like you say, like on the weekends. But certainly those articles are online. And I tell you when people do worry, and this is where I'll have someone coming to me, panicking because they got a terrible article that went up, and then they're really worried. That's when they'll start being really concerned.
Yeah, and the other thing too is what we call digital dirt. I'm sure you've heard this phrase. Yeah.
Well,
digital dirt. Just imagine that you've never done anything online. You don't have a website. You don't have a blog. You don't have a podcast. You've never done anything, and a really bad article comes out mentioning your name in a prominent newspaper, and then someone Googles you, and that's the first thing that comes up, top of heading.
Yeah.
Keith Keller was seen on a bike in the Chelsea area riding down the beach, right? No, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting any bits and pieces in there, but the point is that it could have been anything else. Well, what else did he do on the bike? Did he have clothes on? Was he drunk? Was he swearing? Did he steal stuff? And if you have a digital presence and that digital presence goes awry, then that turns up in Google, doesn't it?
It does. And look, what happens is media will follow other media. So, sometimes a story will come out and then it's like they will just copy that story from the other media outlet. So you don't realize that's what's going on, but they're copying the story, the story angle and the story. So, that's how it sort of, starts to go viral because, it's all of them are catching up on, they heard something on radio. The person said something really controversial and then, it goes from there.
Because we Google it, as soon as we're here, we Google it, I haven't read the paper in 20 years. I can tell you for sure. Like it's 2025. I haven't read the paper this century.
But do you look up stories online? Do you look at digitally? Do you look at the headlines or anything like that? You don't have you don't see them popping up?
My wife loves Flipboard.
Right.
So what she does is she says, okay, what I want is we love traveling. So we want to go to Europe next year. Give me any articles about traveling in Europe. We're vegetarian, so give me any recipes that are vegetarian. We love music, so give me anything about AC/DC or our favorite bands that are coming to town. And don't tell me anything about American politics. I really don't care about. So she'll get articles about, hey, guess what? AC/DC sold 320,000 tickets in one day. It's a record. It's a world record, right? AC/DC, a Melbourne band, coming to Melbourne.
Yeah.
So she'll get that and she'll send it to me and go, guess what? And that's how we found out about this band called Velvet Sundown, which has 1 million users, 1 million followers on Spotify. They're not a real band. Some guy wrote the lyrics, sent it to an AI-generated site, created an album of songs, and suddenly there's an album out on Spotify, 500,000 listens in 1 week, and no one's playing any instruments, right?
Right, yeah.
This is a good question. We can find the types of things we want.
Yes.
I don't want to hear about the news and I'm not interested in sport. So there's no reason to buy the newspaper. There's just no reason. I'm just not interested.
Yeah. But there's so many platforms. I mean, they're emailing me like, I guess, I'm on top of all of them because I'm looking at all the headlines. So I'm probably a bad example of it because I am seeing them. But, there'll be so many, 9Honey and there's so many emailing through. So many platforms out there. I feel like it's almost hard to escape the news though.
Yeah. I remember once, this is a really key point and we'll pick up on Americo's point here. I read this book, a bit of a secret. I was moving in with my wife in 1992 and I said, oh, geez, she's nice, but do I want to live? Will we be all right living together? I was a bit scared. So I bought a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah, I remember that book. Yeah.
1992. Feel the Fear. We've been together 35 years, but right there, 1992, we got to move house. we'll eventually have to buy a house. Oh, that's scary. I couldn't get over the fear of this. Right, so a bit of a side
Yeah.
story. And one of the chapters was said, I want you to challenge yourself to not watch the news. This is 1992. I don't want you
Right.
to watch the news for 1 week and see how you feel. Just track it. Day one,
Yeah.
oh, very scared, 8 out of 10. Day 7, you know what? I feel all right. I think I can do this. And I thought, this is a
Yeah.
miracle. I haven't watched the news since 1992. I know that for sure
Yeah.
because I bought that book. And I feel better. Like I can deal
You
with
do.
the
Yeah.
world.
I
I feel better.
understand that. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But is there
but
any?
anyway,
But you still have shows you still like watching, though, don't you? You've got so
I
not the
watched
news as much,
I
but
watched the Gruen.
yeah.
I watched the Gruen transfer, and what we hear, I do sort of look for the headlines related to our industry.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I find out whether Australia won the cricket. So
Right.
that's something to talk about. I do watch. I watch for headlines on tech.
Yes.
So I
So
get.
do
I sort
you
of.
do you get any tech? Do you get tech? Do you subscribe to any sort of tech
Yeah. So
platforms,
what I
etc.?
do,
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
use a site called Blue Sky. I don't know if you've heard of Blue Sky.
Mm-hmm.
It came out as a direct component of what happened with Twitter when X went a bit funny. Blue Sky sort of picked up, and it's the exact opposite of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
In many ways. So I go into Blue Sky and I go, hey, guess what? Logitech buys the Blue Yeti company. Oh,
Yeah.
geez, I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting. Or 11 Labs, which is an AI generated tool, creates an Australian voice for
Right.
podcasters in Australia. Okay, good. I
Yes.
went and had a listen. So every day I source my material myself. I don't let it come to me. I source it. So, but I would imagine what you're saying. This is very, very interesting, and it picks up on what Americo's saying. If you're hearing the headlines, your brain must be going, I know someone who'll be very good for that show. I know
Yeah,
the
for sure.
ABC's. I know the ABC's going to be doing a show on this tonight, and I've got the perfect person for them. And you can pitch them, right?
Yeah, so for example, I was working with a garden center for a while and they were great. That was great fun. I learned so much about one of the things I love about my job is I learn so much on a particular topic. So I learned a lot about plants and gardening while I was working with them, which was I knew nothing before it. And yeah, it was really great because I was able to pitch them forward for things like so the owner wanted to be in Home Beautiful magazine, so we got them in there. But they had this really fantastic group of horticulturists, both young and older. And what happened, Keith, is over COVID, people got really into plants. So this was a great client to get at that time.
Yep.
It was like everyone was going crazy on plants, and there's a lot of young people. They just fill their houses with plants. So it was a really great client to have at the time. But yeah, so we did stories with Better Home and Garden. We did stories with interviews on 3AW, and it was just and people were just thirsty for this expert information on how to look after plants. So that's the sort of thing I do. I'll work with an expert that's a real expert in their field, and then get them out to a market that's going to work for them. So yeah.
And how do you keep up with the trends? This is actually directly related to what Americo is saying. If we can tap into the trends, we can pitch at a point. We go, this is a good story. I know this is going to go off. I'm going to research that. I'm going to become the expert. How do you keep up with the trends?
Do you know, I feel like that's a little bit my superpower as well. Like, I feel like everyone's got some type of little superpower. Like you're a bit of a futurist, so you see things that, especially from a technology side, you're a bit of a futurist. You're ahead of the game. But I get a sense of I see enough headlines or I see something. So it was over COVID, I started noticing that plant thing, and I was like, oh, I'd really like to get a client in that area. So, just start to see trends of what's going on, what's becoming really popular. And I guess that's how I sort of tap into it. So then it's just really, really working. And, it's so easy now. We've got so many tools. You can even work with AI to sort of refine a story angle. And then it's about getting the right story angle to the right media. It's really not brain surgery. It's that easy. So if you
Because
find an
you
outlet,
said this is a really cool story. You said that someone came to you the other day and said, "You know what? I opened a restaurant recently, and it's near the beach. I reckon
yes.
that's worth. I reckon that's worth going on TV for." What, you
Yeah,
opened a restaurant and it's near the beach. What, I mean, how many
yeah,
restaurants in Australia do you need to know about that that are near the beach? What do you got? Well, we sell
yeah.
pancakes and pizza and beer on a Saturday night and have bands and yeah, okay. And how many cafes near the beach sell pizza and have beer on a Saturday night? Well, I
Yeah,
don't know, but ours is very good. I want to go on the telly. So it's not that's not it. That's not enough. You've got to have an
yeah.
angle. You've got to have an angle.
Yeah, so I think I gave an example even yesterday. I had a client that I was working with, and they were down near Corio or in Corio, which is near Geelong. And this chef, he's was an Indian chef, but he actually had studied under the original chefs in India that created the first butter chicken. Imagine that. So the
Wow.
first creation of butter, yeah. So he had a lot. So that was a real story I hung on, because that was like he was really creating from the he learned from the people that created the first dish, and he had so many great dishes, and just the way they cooked this was really different to everyone else. And he'd worked at globally so many amazing different restaurants and taken expertise from, when he worked in Japan and worked here and there. So he was what I called a global chef. So that's sort of the story angle I went with. And that was really popular with the local media down there, because they were really lucky. If you know the area, Keith. So it's really lucky to have a chef of that caliber down there.
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
because it's a
so they couldn't
smallish
get enough of that.
area.
It
But
is,
this
it
is I
is.
love this story because okay, I love eating out. We eat out every Saturday night,
Yeah.
sometimes Friday and Saturday night, and we love Indian food. And I
And here's
probably
a
even go to Corio to try that.
Oh, you have to, because he has a. I'll set you up with that. He's got a fantastic vegetarian menu as well, so he has
Yeah.
both. So yeah, so exactly right. But what he was finding is that he was building a little bit of a profile. People going, once they tasted the food, they went back, because he would actually, get all the herbs and spices, and just the way he was cooking it and adding so many different spices through to his food. All you had to do was taste it one time, and you were sort of back. You were
Cool.
sort of, yeah.
We've all had
But
that
yeah,
experience. And
yeah. So
we could,
that's
that's a road trip down near the Great Ocean Road. So I can see this. Maybe Melbourne Cup weekend. We'll go down for Torquay and Bells Beach and pop into Corio for a curry, stay overnight, drive down the Great Ocean Road, and then make it a weekend, right?
So I should give him a little plug. It's curry at Corio. Curry's at
Curry
Corio.
at Corio. Okay,
Yeah. So yeah,
you've got
yeah.
me.
So
You've
so
got
yeah.
me.
So we're going back to the story of like someone coming in and saying, I've opened a restaurant and I'm near the beach. Well, that's sort of in that same vein. But then I took the story and went, okay, well, what have we got here? Tell us a bit about your background and why did you set it up? And yeah. So that gives you a little sort of insight of how to sort of really look at what is the story angle here, what is the true story angle here, and often there is a story angle there, like why they started the business. But most people sort of overlook that. They overlook there might be something really simple that is a really great story, that a really great human interest story.
Yeah. And the question I often get is, does the generic media stuff also apply to podcasting in the new era? Do a lot of the principles apply, or are we in a new era of content now?
Well, I think no, not really, because it's like you've got to look at, well, there's different types of podcasts, isn't there? So, and look, even your format as well, but there's different types of, like, one of the podcasts that became very popular very early on, which was really, I didn't know at the time, but I worked on a book, and it was about, I think I mentioned this yesterday, the prison book. So it was about the life behind prisons, and it was really about prison officers and how they treated, and it was by a social worker. So I ended up getting him on. Now I'm going to try and remember. So crime podcasts were really big. They were one of the first to become very big.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got him on one of the biggest, the author on one of the biggest crime podcasts, and they were really competitive with. There was 2 that were really big. So like, oh, have they been on the other one? No, he hasn't. So we got him on that one. And that he sold so many books from that podcast. But so many people tune into those crime podcasts. So that's a whole genre. You know, and it's mums listening to them, you know, while they're doing the cooking or doing this. It's like, it's sort of almost like light relief listening to these crimes that have happened. So, you know, crime is a really big topic. And we see it all the time because there's a lot of TV shows about it as well. But people were really curious about prisons, and you know, I took on the project going, I don't know how this is going to go. This is a little bit, you know, different for me. I've done a lot of different book launches, but I'll give it a whirl. And they were like, no, we trust you, go ahead. And yeah, it was very successful. I think from the PR we did, we sold about 1,000 books.
Yep, I don't doubt it. And I did some research yesterday because LinkedIn has 1 billion users, and 15 million Aussies are on LinkedIn. So pretty much, you know, more than 50% of people have it on their phone or, you know, use it on their laptop. And I just had this question: how many Aussies listen to the radio at home? That's a bit of a bizarre question, but they say now that only 44% of Australians own a radio.
Yeah, I mean,
at home.
Gosh.
Only 44% of people own a radio. Everyone's got a radio in their car, but I'm not talking about that because I don't want people listening in on the car because I don't want them to call and have an accident. But people listening to the radio in their house has diminished dramatically, about 10% in 1 year.
I think my mum still does. She's probably one of that 44.
Yeah, very big on the over 70s market. But the point is that podcasts are taking the place of radio, what radio was. As you said, someone can listen to a podcast about what this really cool story in a minute. I got this really, really cool story. You can listen to a podcast while you're while you're working, cooking a meal, vacuuming the carpet, mowing the lawn, riding your bike. And wifey comes home from work one day and she goes, Keith, I heard this really, really, really good podcast about how to lose belly fat in your 50s. Can we listen to it right now while I'm cooking? I said, well, okay, what do I need for request? I want you to hear this, Keith. This is very good. I want you to hear it. And so wifey's cooking and we put podcast, it was on Spotify, and we put the Bluetooth speaker on and we're listening to it. And wifey's cooking and we're multi-skilling. I'm listening and she's cooking and then we ate together. And I thought, this must be what people do now. Like, I mean, I was just sort of fiddling about listening to some music, and she said, well, let's just change the channel. And the funny story there was that I was listening to the podcast, as you'd imagine, for the sound.
Of course you were.
Can you hear that? Can you hear the crunch in her voice? Keith, mate, just shut up. Can you just shut up? I'm listening to the person speaking. I want to hear what they say.
Yeah, it's usually the content, Keith, just so you know. People are mostly listening for the content, but no.
So I'm listening to it and I go, her name is Beck Wilson. Like she has this podcast called The Epic Retirement, how to retire with enough money and what are you going to do with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And she helps people in their 50s prepare for retirement by saving enough money and having something to do. So we're listening to the podcast from the point of view of what the content was, but my brain is thinking, how did she get her vocals to be so crisp? How did she get that crisp? So I saved it and I spent all day the next day pulling apart the sound design of her podcast, and I followed her. She followed me back, and we're not friends yet, but I would love to have her on the show to say, how did you do it? I don't really care what you say because I'm into sound. That's my game, right?
I like Lynn says, I think you have bionic hearing. I think you do. I think you've got like that dog hearing or something.
Yeah, and so she's like my hero now. Like her podcast is at a level that I said, if I can get there, I'm happy. You know, you got to have a goal, right? So my podcast, my show has a sound quality level. And And I thought, okay, well, there's my template. Like
I've got to
Gary
find
V
you
is
a sound person. I've got to
you
find
got
you
to
a
find me a
sound
sound person.
guest. I
Like
really
Gary,
do. I'll make that my goal.
can you?
Yeah, I
But
will.
Gary V is my fashion dude. Black t-shirt and
Right.
jeans, and he gets away with
Okay.
it. He is
Yeah.
my hero. He can go
Right.
anywhere in the world in a black t-shirt and jeans, and they let him in.
Right. It's a bit
Now
Steve
that's not
Jobs,
because
isn't it?
Gary V is my hero because he just wears what he wants:
Yeah.
black t-shirt and jeans, and a pair of runners, maybe a cap. Right. So, but let's get back on track. We've got a couple of really good questions in the audience. We're
Yeah.
talking about podcasting. I know for sure there are 2 million podcasts now and 7 million podcast episodes.
Yeah.
And that tells you a lot. What that tells you is that most people start a podcast but don't keep going. It's a phrase
Right.
called
Yeah.
pod fade.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a podcast. Oh, I think this is such a good idea. Oh, this is hard. Didn't realize this was
Yeah.
going to be hard. Come on. I mean, I got things to do. I can't fit it in. This is hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people give up, right? They give up. So
Yeah.
there's 7 million episodes to choose from. So many people are turning into podcasts, and they're very educational, and they're very, very good. So what do you think people can do to prepare to be on a podcast or even start their own?
Wow, that's two big ones. I think with I think the reason, like, people can have a podcast idea, but you've got to like look at how you're going to monetize it and all of that. So yeah, they've got to sit there and build the audience for quite a while before they may be able to do that. But one thing I want to recap and go back on, you talked about radio. So a lot of radio actually goes to podcasts now. So it's actually, you can actually hear that show via podcast, because what's happening is we're not, once upon a time, our parents, for example, tuned into the news at 6 o'clock religiously, or they watched 60 Minutes on a Sunday, or you watched, these shows. But we don't do that anymore. So things have changed. We're all about Netflix now, and we'll watch what we want when we want. So that's on demand. So when we want it, that's when we're going to listen and watch it. So media are adapting to that, but not as fast as, not all outlets. So that is part of the change that you see. But with radio, if it's a show you really like, you can often listen to that. They'll have it in a podcast format so that you can catch it at a later time, because you might particularly like that show and what they talk about. It might be about gardening and you love that, or it might be about books, or it might be
Working, or
what
you're
it
in
is
the
you're
car.
listening to.
Look, the on-demand lifestyle, I want to share this story. In 1984, I remember this very specifically, talking about futurism. In 1984, I remember coming home from work thinking, I missed my favorite show. I wish someone would invent a gadget that could record the TV. And people go, what a stupid idea, Keith. Yep, the show is on when the show is on. If you miss it, you miss it. There's no tech for that. I said, well, there surely must be tech. This is 1984. I was 18. And my favorite show was on it, and I missed it.
Yeah.
And I was really pissed off. And I said, I reckon in the next few years, someone's going to invent a way to record the TV. Oh, yes. That's not going to happen, Keith. Why would that happen? I remember having this argument with someone. Well, don't you sometimes miss your favorite show and wish you could go back and fast forward the ads? No, I've never thought of that. Haven't you? And then the VCR comes out, and I said, see, I told ya. And that happens to me all the time. And then people, and so a lot of people listening now are thinking, VCR, come on, mate, that's a 20th century technology. And it was, but at the time, we had nothing. It was watch live TV or miss out. Now we have on demand. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think back to your question about the podcasts and interviews, there's just so many different genres. Like, is it a lifestyle podcast? Is it a health podcast? Is it a crime podcast? Is it a business podcast? So there's a lot. Like, do you have any podcasts you listen to in particular?
I don't anymore.
Yeah,
I don't. I
You're
don't.
a creator.
Yeah, and I think this is actually a really interesting point. I
Yes.
create content, I don't consume
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That you go from one to the other often. So you'll see people consuming content and then they may go the other side and they become a content creator. So that's very common.
Yeah, so I'm just googling the concept of VHS. So I remember thinking this recently that I'm creating content and I actually don't have time to listen to other content. I sometimes try to
Yeah.
go into other people's show to support them.
Yes.
And I remember Brian Ferry from a band called Roxy Music, another 80s reference.
Mm-hmm.
He was interviewed
Yes.
recently and he said, "Look, I don't listen to other people's music. I'm
Yeah.
busy creating my own music. I don't have time
Yeah.
to listen to other people's music." But without consumers, we wouldn't have creators, right?
Yeah.
And without creators, we wouldn't have anything to consume.
That's right. Yeah. So you've gone from one camp to the other. So you've gone from consuming content to actually being a content creator. And yeah, that does happen. Exactly. But yeah, as far as preparing for it, you probably want to listen to that podcast and really get to know the types of guests they have on there and just see if it is a good
Yes.
fit.
I love this idea. If you and I shared this story right at the start of the show. I did this podcast in 2015 where I interviewed coaches that were doing things and different things, and I wanted to call them out. I wanted to sort of say, well, look, they're doing good work. Have a listen to this, and it was called something like the Podcast Academy or the Coaches Online Forum or something like that. And it
Yeah.
was 2015. I ran it for 6 months, every week for 6 months. I still get interviews now from people saying, "Matt, I heard your podcast. I'd love it. Can I come on?" I said, "Did you check the date?" Yeah, I watched it. I listened to it. It was good. It was on iTunes. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, but did
Yeah.
you check when it was made?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look, you're right. July 2015. Oh, what are you doing? You got something new I can come on? So I love this idea about doing the research because there's a whole industry, and I don't know if you do this for people, but they pitch podcast guests to other people. Do you do? Is that part of your job now?
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to go onto a podcast, like I'll have them ask. Someone asked me the other day they want to go on Diary of a CEO. They want to be on, so there'll be certain podcasts they want to go on. Or they might be in health, for example, and they want to go on this particular podcast because it's really health focused and it's a really good fit for what their expertise, knowledge and expertise. Yeah. So yeah.
So how would you get them on the Diary of a CEO? I mean, that'd be a bloody hard ask. What,
I
have you
know
had
that's exactly right. You've got to look at you've got to be realistic about it because there'll be and there'll be a wait to get on there, but they've got really big names. You're exactly right. So you're going to have to probably make sure that they've got a little bit of something behind them. You may have to work the way up there for sure.
Yeah, it's a very good. No, and what we've talked about the book, and we've talked about the two main ideas. Why don't we throw to questions, and we'll bring some people in. We've got some people backstage already. Why don't we
Yes.
start, and then you go as whenever you need to go. Have you got a 10? Have you got an 11 o'clock? When's your next appointment?
I can start to 11:30. But
Okay,
yeah, I can go
let's
anytime.
do
So
that.
yeah,
So we've
sounds
got
good.
Americo and Bez behind the scenes. What do you
Yeah.
think, guys, of this concept? Are you more interested in preparing for mainstream media, or are you more interested in finding out of how to prepare for podcast interviews, or a bit of both? What do you think, America?
Okay, take myself off mute. You got me. For me, it's a little bit of both. I'm in this mindset of research, so I'm open to trying and listening, and just I want to be that sponge right now, and I want to get an appreciation and a knowledge level to cover the gap that exists today. So to answer your question, I'd say both,
Yeah.
and open it up and be vulnerable, even if it requires being vulnerable. You're not going to succeed or move forward unless you try something you're not comfortable with.
Yeah. And what's the phrase? You got to be prepared to suck.
Yes.
You got to be
Yes, you
prepared to
do.
suck at something before you get good. And with that in mind, Gary Vee, who is my hero, I don't know if you know this story, but he went to his dad. He worked in a wine shop, and this is like 2000. I'll Google it in a minute. But he said, "Dad, look, I'm packing ice and unpacking the truck, and that's fine. But can I do a YouTube channel? A YouTube channel? His dad was like 60 at the time. A YouTube. What is YouTube? Well, says it's a thing where there's a thing where people go online and they research things. And I could be making these funky videos selling wine, and that's got to be a hell of a lot more interesting than unpacking the truck. And I bet you any money it'll work. So he created this thing called the Wine Library. Have you heard this story, Lynn? Do you know this story? You got the telly on, Lynn? Have you got something going on there? You're taking your headphones off?
Are you talking to Lynn or myself?
Sorry, Amanda, you're taking your headphones off?
No, I can hear.
Have you got the telly on in the background?
Oh, there you go. Something clipped out. Sorry about that. Yeah. I don't have something on the background. I'm in a.
That's right. Have you heard the Wine Library TV idea?
The Wine Library
with Gary Vee. No. Have you heard Gary Vee's story?
No, I haven't. No.
So this is amazing. The Gary Vee is my hero, right? And so Gary Vee, a young kid at the time, said, "Dad, can I start a YouTube channel?" Oh, okay. Well, what is YouTube? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a bottle of wine from the shed, from the cupboard, from the shop, from the warehouse. And I'll say, okay, well, this is a Cab Sav. It's 1975. I reckon this is pretty good. We'll sell this for $200 a case. Free shipping anywhere in America. And if you come in today, you can get a second crate half price. And I reckon this is all right. I'm going to try it. It's not bad. I reckon it's probably 8 out of 10 on a sort of a wine type scale. Sorry about the daggy videos. I bought a webcam today and I'm trying this out. This is like 2005. I'll Google it in a minute for exact date. A shocking video. He would be the first to concede that. He's not my friend, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying it. And he did 1,000 videos, one video a day every day for 3 years. Right? He sold $50 million in wine as a direct result of that campaign.
Wow.
$50 million in wine. And his dad's thinking, okay, yeah, you can stop packing now.
Yeah.
And now Gary Vee charges $10,000 a speech to tell that story.
Right.
And he turns up in a black T-shirt and jeans and a cap, and he says, "Look, mate, I'm the guest. I don't have to play your game. I know this is black tie, but I'm not putting a suit on. Just ring the boss. If you don't want me, I'll go home. I'm happy to watch the baseball. I don't mind. Just ask the boss." He's been knocked back at the door. This is a really funny story. He comes to the door, and the bouncer says, "No, it's black tie." He says, "I know it's black tie for the guests. I'm not the guest. I'm the speaker. I'm the dude. That's where they're coming to see. I'm the guy they're coming to see." He says, "Well, I don't care about that. It's black tie." So we'll ring the boss. Tell him. They pay me $10,000. Just yell out. And they go and get the boss, and he says, "Well, let him in. I know he's a bit of a ruffian, but he's pretty cool." And he just turns up, and he's very, very sort of contrary, right? I love him. Because, I'm a bit of a rebel too. So
that's his brand. That's his brand. That outfit is his brand. So
that's his brand.
And that's what. So yeah, that's his brand.
Yeah. Now, if I had said to you, I'm going to start a library of wine on YouTube, you might have said, "Oh, yeah, okay, try it. What are you doing that for?" But Gary Vee did one video a day for 3 years.
Yeah.
And sold $50 million in wine as a result. That's a win. I get that. And so
it's like a niche expert.
A niche expert. So I think we need to play this game. Sometimes, as the reason I said that is that Americo and I often we're sort of pushing the boundaries, and we have to suck to get good. You just don't come out of the womb playing guitar like Eddie Van Halen. You got to practice. So
Yeah.
we've made massive mistakes. We have had massive, massive failures. Like,
What's the worst mistake you made on live?
live, I think a lot of the problems that I have live result from Australia's internet problems.
Right. So it's not really
So-
you. That's
So Australia has really, really, really bad internet. And during the pandemic, I had massive guests coming on my show, really cool people. And I just couldn't get the tech to work.
right.
And that was really embarrassing.
Yeah.
But to your point, the reason I did the podcast in 2015 is in 2014, someone came to me and said, "Look, mate, you're the Twitter dude. Let's start a product, and you can be the Twitter dude, and we're going to have the Pinterest dude." Pinterest was a thing then, and we can have Instagram was not really going that well in 2014, but we didn't have an Instagram person, but we had a YouTube person and a Twitter person and a Pinterest person, and we went to the world saying, "We've got a product. It's $50 a month, and we're going to teach you everything about everything," and it completely failed. Right? I spent 18 months on this, 18 hours a day. My wife nearly left me.
Oh no.
And nearly like 2 minutes away from leaving me. And I thought, and I woke up. I woke up after that and I said, "I'm not sure I can get out of bed today. I'm just not sure I want to do this anymore." It hurt so much, it hurt so much. I put every ounce of my positivity into this product and it failed. And a lot of people don't talk about this. They just talk about the Lamborghini and the 9-figure income in 3 days. This is what LinkedIn has become. But the podcast was, okay, look, this is my little fun game to bounce back. I'm just going to interview my friends. And I did a show once a week just to get out of bed. Right.
Yeah, right. That's great.
I completely hit the wall.
Yeah.
And I had sort of given up. And, we were paying off a house and wifey had a job. And I said, "Look, I'm just going to have to crawl back. I don't even know if I can come back from here." And I said, "I'm never doing that again. I can tell you that for sure." And that's why I did that podcast. So we as entrepreneurs have failed massively, but we didn't die. We bounced back, and the lessons the stories we tell come from our heart. You see these 18-year-old girls from Germany who doing these podcasts, and you think, well, how could you possibly know? How could you possibly know? You've just left school, and you're taking pictures on Instagram and thinking that's the thing. It's not a thing. Maybe it is a thing, and maybe I'm just old.
I think that's a whole different thing. It's a whole different category.
Whole different category. So let's bring Bez in. Sorry, mate, I got a bit distracted there. First of all, Americo, did that answer your question? The idea of you got to learn to suck to get good?
Absolutely. It's if you're not failing, you're not learning.
And did you know the Gary Vee story?
I've heard the Gary Vee story. Yes, it's very inspirational. I didn't know part of it. The whole black tie gala, that was neat, but the whole wine, the family business background, I did hear that once before.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Lynn. I'm glad I didn't give up either, but I got to be honest, I was pretty close. So, and that's part of being an entrepreneur. You got to have the chutzpah to sort of get moving again. And thank you, Ray, for California. We recently did a bit of a job on that, California.org, California. I thought that was pretty cool because I was planning a US tour. A Californian tour. I was going to go to LA and do these speaking gigs back in the day. Are we there yet? Are we at 100 comments yet? This is pretty cool. It's a very dynamic format what we're doing here. We're aiming for 100 comments on the show. Everyone gets a turn, and if you want to come up, we can have 6 speakers at one time. It's a very, very, very dynamic format. Bez, what are you thinking? We've jumped around the map a bit. Have you had massive failures? Do you sort of resonate with what we're talking about today? Where do you want to take us?
Well, yeah. If you're, it's like this. If you're batting 1,000, you're not swinging enough, right? Because I've met people say, well, I picked up the phone and called 5 people and I got 5 interviews. And I was like, that's really good. Then call another 5. Well, I've got 5 interviews. I was like, well, fantastic. Is that enough? Or do you want to have 3 offers sitting in front of you and make a decision? And so, yeah, you got to fail because in that failing, you just have to repurpose or reconfigure how you look at failure. And sometimes it's just a simple word replacement or words. And instead of saying failure, you use, hey, that's an investment in my education. And I laugh when I say that, when it's like, it's not a failure. It's an investment in my education. And sometimes they're very expensive investments in my education. Okay. Can I get an amen? I mean, so we've all been there, right? And, it's in that process, you stretch that muscle, and by stretching that muscle, you grow. So if you can't invest in your education and grow, then you're just going to be complacent. And while we all want to be wildly successful and bat 1,000, then that means that we're really super good, or maybe we're all pro, but we're playing JV, and we're slam dunking on 5-year-olds and thinking we're all world. You know what I mean?
Look, we've had some interesting comments from the audience. Interviews and offers. This is a very important point. PR is part 1, and I really want to pick up on this. Picking up the phone is not PR. You're doing the work. PR is, I'm going on the TV. I'm going on a television show because I'm going to introduce myself to people that have never heard of me. We're at 88 comments and we're running. So we got 12 to go before we get out of the badge. So what do you think about getting interviews on podcasts, Bez? Have you got a bit of a strategy for that? How do you pick your interviewees, and have you been on some other interviews, and how do you do that?
I have. And it really wasn't, I was looking for the interview, but I was investing my time and attention in their stuff. Right. And so, interestingly enough, they turned around and said, hey, we'd like to interview you for our show. Now, it's that Zig Ziglar saying as, hey, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. So if I were to tell you, oh, I've got this strategy, no, not yet, but it will be coming out. But it's more what my path right now among everything I've done is that right now, I participate in other people's ecosystems, in contributed what I believe was value. And in turn, that's come back and they've asked me to I've been on several shows, whether it's podcasts or live streams. And like this one right here, you asked me to come back. We did the sound check yesterday. You say, hey, could you come back? And I'm like, absolutely. But imagine if I never showed up to any of your sound checks. You wouldn't know who I was, and you wouldn't even ask me to come on your stage, right?
Yeah. And the thing that we've talked about with Amanda is that Amanda does it slightly differently to me, but I've always got my radar. You'll notice this if we're connected. I've always got my radar up, right? And I say, hey, I just found out about this. I reckon Bez would like that. And I'm constantly sending Bez stuff to say, hey, I reckon you'd be a good guest for this. And my friend Tim is in London, who wants guests, creators versus consumption. My friend Tim in London says, mate, if you come across anyone good, send it to me, because he's done 500 YouTube interviews on what he calls Tim Talks, which I think is pretty clever. Tim Talks instead of
great
TED
name.
Talk. So he has done 500 interviews on YouTube, and he's very open to finding more. Now, he can find them himself, but when I come across someone that I think Tim might like, it's part of my superpower, I send him these interviews, these people, and he contacts them. Americo's been on his show. That was a pretty cool thing, wasn't it? Some guy in Toronto, Canada, not London, Ontario, calls someone in London, England, and goes on his TV show. It's bloody good, isn't it? How did that feel?
That was amazing. We spoke career pivots, and it was fantastic. And they're not much different around the world. If you're moving from whatever space, corporate, blue collar, doesn't matter. When you're pivoting, and the conversation was the same, and the audience and the exposure was fantastic. And you learn things that you didn't know happen in different regions across the globe.
Let's pick up on a question from Ray.
Breaking news, Keith.
What's that?
I just made the 100th comment.
Okay, let me play a little sound. And we have a winner. We are all winners. In fact, I'm going to play a longer sound. Let's just live in that for 10 seconds. And we did it. We did it. 100 comments. Big congratulations to us. Yay! Yay! I'm just one guy in Melbourne, Australia. But look at what we did. Look at what we did. So anyway,
it takes a village.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. It didn't hurt you were at 97 and I decided to make the last 3 comments.
Yeah. So
well done.
One of the formats here is very improvised, and I know some people want to keep to topic. So Ray has said, is the topic how to prepare for podcasts or isn't it? So we can get back to topic. But a lot of what we say here is indirectly relevant. Like if we help others, that's a hack. Like if I go on someone else's show, I will have them on my show. That's a hack. The best way to have friends is to be one. I'm going to put that on a T-shirt. That's going to be on my gravestone. The best way to have friends is to be one. Yeah. I'll go on your show first. You come on my show. You come on my show first, then have me on your show. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. Right? That's a hack. It's not. You don't find that in a book, but just common sense. Just be a nice person. So, but let's get back on track. How can we prepare for podcast interviews? What do you think, Amanda? Let's we'll run the other room. We've been going an hour, so it's a good chance for you to wrap up. What's the best way we can prepare for podcast interviews? If you're not a creator, you can't offer that olive branch of giving them it's lovely. That's the great thing about having your own show. Like I get asked to go on other people's shows all the time because I've got my own show, and we're mutually jumping in and out. But what's the best way to prepare to be on other people's shows?
Well, firstly, you've really got to have something to go with them and have a little bit of do you have a book? Are you an expert in your field? Do you have a bit of a following? Have a look at it from their point of view as well. What's the information you can provide? What's your expert niche that you can, and is it a good fit for that podcast? So you want to be looking at that first. So there's no point on going on there if it's not a good fit. So you're really looking at, this is a great fit for this show. And then you want to come up with some topics as well. So you want to look at some topics that you can talk on that look like this host that'd be a great fit. Like they talk about this and they talk about health topics or they talk about lifestyle topics, etc. I'm an AI expert, I do this, or you want to look at those sorts of things and come up with some good topics. But you really want to make sure you you're prepared, and that you do a good job as well. So you may get back on the show as well. So they're the things I'd look at. But like I said to you, I had a client that with a book, and then they'll want to go on a particular podcast. And sometimes those really big popular podcasts, they're very competitive. There might be one or two that really compete against each other. If you've been on one, they may not watch you on another. This happens to me with TV as well. So they become
it's sort of they cancel each other out.
Yeah, they do, and this happens all the time with I might go to TV news with a story or something like that, and they're like, well, we want that exclusive. They want that exclusive. So yeah.
Wow.
So if you're going on lots of things, they may look at that as well. So yeah. So but there'll be what have you got that you're going there with? And if you're an expert, have you got a book, and this is what you cover in the book, and this is a good fit. Get to know the show, listen to it, look at the other experts that are on, and that's what I do all the time. I'm actually pitching to different radio, podcasts, the whole lot. So more and more over the last 2 years, it's been podcasts. A lot of I've had clients wanting to go on podcasts. Yeah.
Let me pick up on this. This is an exclusive. This is an exclusive. I've never talked about this before, and I don't know anyone else doing this. Although we have talked about the Velvet Sundown. What I've decided, for better or for worse, is that I'm not going to edit my shows. I don't have time. Mm-hmm. So what I do, and I want you to go and have a look at this, Amanda, and this is what you can send to any potential guests or hosts. I create a list of topics that we do talk about on the show.
Yeah.
Using AI. And these topics are concepts unto themselves.
Right.
But if someone says, oh, wow, can you pick up on that number 4? Why is a microphone important? Yeah, look, well, I can do that. So I've got 226 podcast snippets on this site. And I can talk at length, ad nauseum, about any of them. Right? So this is what you're talking about, isn't it? What are we going to talk about, Keith? Well, here's the list. You just pick a topic that you want. If you've got a book, if someone's got a book, well, okay, let's talk about the book. If you've got a podcast, if you've got a blog, if you've got a newsletter, if you've got, whatever, you've got to have something to bounce off, haven't you?
Absolutely. So, what's the purpose here? And look, what are you trying to achieve from it? So, yeah. So maybe going to that really big podcast is, unrealistic unless, let's have a look at what you've got. What are you going there with? And what is your level of expertise? So, because they're going to look at your credibility as well.
I want to go on Diary of a CEO, Keith. I reckon that'd be really good for my brand. I said, well, of course.
Yeah, I get that a lot now.
Of course it would be good for your brand, but what are they getting? Oh, well, let's get to interview me. I mean, I'm me. I'm a dude. I'm the me. Yeah, but what do you got that the 75 million other people trying to get on that show haven't got? 75 million. Yeah, well, he's got the number 1 podcast in the world. Yeah. Of course he's going to have a big line. And so what a mate of mine does, I don't know if you know this story. This is a very good story to tell. A mate of mine who gets 20 million downloads a month and teaches this stuff said, Mike, to go on my show is $350. That's the price. Wow. Take it or leave it. I don't mind. I've got plenty of guests. It's $350. I get 20 million downloads a month. But if you want to go on for free, I have got some shows going in November 2027. And I just keep pushing those free shows out every time someone pays me. But if you pay me $350, you can go on next week.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting 20 million downloads a month. I don't have to beg you to come on my show. I have to accept you to come on my show. Right? Yeah. So you got to, if you're gonna go on these shows, you got to have something to offer. Just the fact that you've opened a restaurant near the beach and that sells beer and pizza on a Saturday night, it's not enough. You got to have a special angle, don't you?
Yeah, it's a story, like a bit of a story angle.
You got some ideas, Bez?
Well, no. So you said you have a friend that gets 20 million downloads a month, and he charges $350.
Per episode, yeah.
Well, shoot, sign me up. That's like a very good deal.
It is,
For
isn't it?
20 I think about that. Amanda, that's money well
Yeah.
spent for 20
It
million
is.
downloads
That
because
is. It is actually.
you're not getting any better CPM than that.
The thing is also, it's interesting because I've seen that as well, Keith, with with other shows as well that are doing that format, and that's how they're monetizing what they're doing. So yeah, and it is because you're part of the show then, so you're not the advertisement that flies in. You're actually part of the show still. So yeah. And does he take just about anything, or does he is he really particular? Like, what is the genre that we're talking about there, Kate, that he's of that show?
So it would be business related things. So
Yeah.
I don't think $350 would be enough if he had nothing to say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they might bounce off a book or a speaking tour.
Mhm.
So this guy's in New York. So just say you're going to New York on a speaking tour based on a book.
Yeah.
So you go, well, look, I've got a book out. I'm coming to New York. Let's go on that show. That's $350 well spent. You can talk about the book. You can talk about the concert tour or the speaking gig tour. And that would be something to say. It's almost like the David Letterman show, if you remember that. There's hundreds of examples of that since then. But, David Letterman, I'm dating myself. But
he's on Netflix. He's on Netflix now. Have you seen his series?
That's
on
right.
His series?
He's just, he interviews people and Jimmy Fallon and all these people. So
Yeah.
what have you been doing? I got a book out. Oh, you got a book out. How's it going? Well, it's pretty good. Just tells my story. And doing a speaking tour next week. I'm speaking at the Palladium tomorrow night if you want to come. Here's the link. And so it'd have to be a mutually beneficial thing. And we talked about this yesterday and why this is one of the reasons you can prepare while we do a sound check.
Yeah.
I have been fooled sometimes, been sucked in, and people come on my show and they get through the net the first time. But if they sound shit and they're not prepared and they don't do the work, they're not getting a second turn.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just a guy from Melbourne, Australia. But imagine if you've got this podcast that's at a level and someone comes in and says, well, look, can I come on your podcast? Yes, you can. What are you going to talk about? Well, this and that. Very difficult to do that on your own. Because this person, you're just talking one-on-one to someone, then how are you going to get through the gatekeeper?
That's right. So, and they'll have a producer anyway. They have a team behind it. So you're not even dealing with the host directly.
Yeah. Bring your A game. It takes a village. Lachelle would be an extremely good person for you to contact.
We have spoken, actually. We've spoken. Yeah, no. And something Lachelle just brought up as well. It's like, human interest stories are of great interest. So a human interest story is, what's happened in their life and how they sort of got to where they got to and, how it's impacted things. So that's a human interest story.
Yeah. So I think it's important that it's a mutually beneficial thing. We've actually talked a lot, and I'll bring Americo in this. I believe we've now entered the era where there has to be this mutually beneficial arrangement. You have to do something for the host because they're doing something for you.
Right? But it could be your content is so different. So, for example, I worked with a nutritionist that had really different, sort of had niched her sort of nutritional information. So I got her on a lot of podcasts and got her featured. And we did.
Okay. Yep.
And sometimes it's really simple stories. So one of the stories I did with her is the 3 worst things you're doing at breakfast time or 3 worst breakfasts, something along those lines. So, yeah. So that becomes topical. Simple. Sorry.
Sometimes content is enough.
If you're an expert in your field and you've got a bit of a following and this is your work that you're doing, yeah, it could be.
Okay.
But you've probably got a lot of credibility. You've got results. Like this lady was getting massive results. She was helping people really overhaul some big health issues.
And she doesn't therefore promote that on her own channels. Doesn't sort of feed back what's the relationship other than the content? What does that guest do for the host?
So those hosts are looking for content that's different or topical in their field. So it was a health podcast.
Yeah.
So they were looking for those specific topics. So, and then they might even niche down even further than that. So they might cover, I don't know, health in a certain area or for a certain age group or something. So
because the podcast is already established and doesn't need any more PR.
So sorry. So I was getting the nutritious on the podcast. So on the podcast with her.
But what are they doing for the host?
Providing their information. It's probably quite different information. So it's like new information. So
yeah. Okay. No, that's the most common perception of a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell this story when I was 18. A lot happened when I was 18. I did this gig with this band called Guilty as Charged. They all had tattoos and they'd all done time, right? And they did Rose tattoo covers and AC/DC and Thin Lizzy. And anyway, this band came to us. We were a very young band at that time, and one of the bands I was in, and says, "Can you support us? We're doing this gig next Wednesday night. Do you want to come and play?" Oh, well, okay. We've just formed. We've only been together like 4 weeks. We've got about 8 songs. Yeah, that'll do. Just do that. And the guy rang me on the day. And he says, "Mate, I noticed that you are not promoting it." Yeah, well, we just started. Come on. We've only got 8 songs. Yeah, well, I mean, we could do the gig ourselves. We don't need you. The reason we're asking you is we want you to bring your friends. And if you don't bring any friends, you're not getting a second chance. I said, well, that's not fair. We've just started. Yeah, but you are a band that is going to play before us. We already have a following. Well, we don't need you. But what we thought we'd do is we'd give you a hand so that you could bring new people to the show that haven't heard of us. And if you're not doing that, I can tell you for sure you're not getting another go. I was 18, right? Thinking, geez, that's a bit harsh. I mean, come on. We've only got 8 songs. This is my first gig ever. Just a young kid. Yeah, well, that's the way the music industry works, man. If you don't bring anyone, you're not getting anyone back. And I said, and so I learnt the lessons pretty harsh. Like as I said, I'm a consumer. Like I'm a creator. I'm on this side of the fence. I'm on this side. I'm not on that side. At that time, of course, I was going to a lot of gigs, trying to learn how to be a better bass player so I could get more gigs. But I always was a creator, not a consumer. Yeah. And it occurred to me, and I'm really interested in whether this is a thing, if people come on my show and do nothing with the content, I'm not sure I'd have them back on.
Right.
Because the content is one thing, but like I'm only one guy. I'm working furiously behind the scenes to promote this stuff, but I can't do everything. And then on the other hand, someone will come on the show and go, mate, that was so good. I'm going to create a video out of that. I'm going to send it to my team and they're going to create some magic out of this. And then suddenly we get like 15,000 views. This has happened. Shell did this for us. And so what Americo and I have decided is that when guests come on in the future, we're going to try and get 10 pieces of content from every show. Now, if I don't make that, who's going to make it? The guest or the host or the audience. So I'm just interested. Am I on topic here, Americo? Do you think this is a modern trend, what we call user-generated content? Do you think the guests owe it to the host to help out?
I wouldn't say owe it to the host, but it is a reciprocal non-written agreement. You know,
I'm going to scratch content for every show.
Scratch
if
your
I don't
back, I
make-
scratch mine. Right?
Are you listening to
Can you
this
hear
on
me?
LinkedIn again, Amanda? You got your headphones off.
No, I've got my headphones in.
That was me. I
All
switched.
right.
Yeah.
So,
But I knew I messed up. So
and that's all right. No worries. So look, I'm really interested in this. I think we've entered a new realm. Like I'm like what we might call a very loosely a micro influencer. I'm not Stephen Bartlett. Never going to be Stephen Bartlett. I can tell you, I'm not. I'm never going to be Gary Vee. I could, if I have this miracle run, I might become Gary Vee in my 60s. But the point is that I'm at a level. I'm a micro influencer. I might crack 50 million followers maybe. But so we are peddling our guts out underneath all of this, working out. We don't have a team. A lot of the time, entrepreneurs don't have a team. We're doing all the work. So user-generated content is this miracle cure to fatigue. And I'm really interested in your thoughts here, Bez. When you do your show, are you going to try and encourage your guests to do some of the backstory for you?
well, you almost have to create it for them. And this thing of getting your guests to promote your show is very hard. However, what the band that said, hey, you should be doing this because we don't need you, you actually, that is true. And I think if America was talking about reciprocity, is that, if you want some love back, you first have to give love, right? And when we did the 10-week career sprint, I created a group, LinkedIn group chat that was like just for posting. And if someone in there posted, we're trying to help each other. It's basically an engagement pod, get some love, right? So the whole rule was, if you're going to put something in there, everybody has we're supposed to, within the first hour, 90 minutes, supposed to hop on it and give it some love. But the rule was that if you're going to do that, you got to give love back. So it's the same concept, especially for people that are up and coming and they don't have the audience. I think it's smart to leverage the audience of somebody else that has a big audience, right? So if you're small, and so let's say, Keith, you got this show and you have a flyer for the show, and you put your face and you put theirs in the corner, and you say, hey, here it is, here's the link and everything, go promote it. If I was a smaller fish, I'd be like, sure, let me leverage Keith's network, because every time I'm posting, I'm going to at Keith, tag him. But you see a lot of people don't get that. And it is probably more normal and very frustrating for people that have their own shows when the guests don't promote them. And that is more normal than not. So yeah.
A friend of ours, Billy, this is a very good story. A friend of ours, he gets these hosts, these authors come to these publishers come to him and say, look, can you interview our author about this book? Yep, I can do that. I've got a show every week and I interview authors. And the author comes on totally unprepared, probably doesn't even have a mic, just talks into their laptop and talks about the book. I'm the guest. Like, I've got a book. I'm pretty clever. I've got a book. Yep. And I'm going to talk about the book. And then they talk and they go. And they never do anything with the content, and they never share it, and they never do anything with it. And it's up to Billy to share it. And he says, well, that's not fair. I mean, I took the time out of my day to interview you. I looked at your book. I read, sort of flicked through it, created some questions. And you've written a book. So that's good. 1 million people, 1 billion people have written a book. You're not that special. Is that a that's a song. I'm not special. 1 billion people have written a book. So what? So what? That's not enough, in my opinion. What about it? You've got to do something for me because I'm doing something for you. Now, I'm not talking about transactional. I'm not talking about tit for tat, but I get these people. They come on my show, and they think that that's it, that's enough, and they never do anything with it, and they never do anything again, and I never hear from them again. And I'm thinking that's not enough. It's not reciprocity, right? And so I reckon a part of preparing for a podcast is this heart of reciprocity. Would you agree, Amanda, or is that a modern paradigm, something that you're not familiar with in the media industry?
No, because I think I work with probably people that are probably at a higher level, they've got a real, they've been going for a while. They've got some real expertise, and that topic could actually, send that podcast viral because it's just such interesting topic. It's so niche, it's so interesting. So, that's what I do. It's not like, they don't have to, there's no need for them to do anything else. It's like, it's that topic that they've got. It's like, it's really resonating with the audience and they can't get enough of it.
Fair enough.
So,
fair enough. It's a different level.
Yeah.
If Angus
and I'm working on story angles, really good story angles. And that's what I would suggest is like, and it's so easy to come up with good story angles now, because we've got AI that can help us. Yeah. So,
and you're probably pitching at a higher level. Trending. You're probably pitching at a higher level, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Angus,
they're not even going on the smaller podcasts.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. I get you. And as I said, I've only got 20,000 followers. I'm just a guy in Melbourne, Australia. I'm just a
but you're still a micro influencer at that level, so it's perfect for certain people, to go on there. And if that's what you're looking at, you want them to. It's probably just being clear. I would really like if you could promote the show, or can you tag this? And they do ask that. Like I've actually had a media outlet that has a side podcast as well, and they've said, can they promote it on their channels?
Yeah.
So here it is, and can they? So just asking them to do that. So if that is what you're looking for, then make sure you're as a host, you probably want to let people know.
No, this is good. Well. It's setting. We've talked a lot about this because I am, at the very least, a futurist. A lot of what I talk about is completely
a futurist.
What I talk about is completely obvious to me. Like I don't. And my favorite phrase at the moment is, "I don't understand why you don't understand." This is completely obvious to me. But some people don't know. They don't know. What do you mean you want me to promote the show? Well, wouldn't you? Come on. Wouldn't you? Well, it never occurred to me. What do you mean it never occurred to you? You're on a podcast. I'm talking about you. Why wouldn't you tell your friends about that? Oh, well, I thought you'd do that. This just doesn't occur to them. So, this is why I find it really fascinating talking to a large amount of people. You got some ideas, Bez, about that? Am I being a bit harsh? Do you think that reciprocity is the thing?
No, I think that's a thing. But I wanted to go back just a couple seconds ago where Amanda was talking. You guys were talking about micro influencers. Actually, being a micro influencer right now in 2025 is a position of strength. Because if you look at the Entrepreneur magazine, the March through April edition, it says that they talk about the top trends, the top 10 trends in small business sales, and they're saying number 2 is micro influencers will make a bigger impact. And I'm in Billy Thorpe's circle, and that's what he does. Oh my goodness, he's done 4,000 brand deals. Nobody can touch him because he does it at such a high volume. He has really good insights in the type of deals. You don't even have to do CPM deals. You could be a micro influencer and name a price. If you've got a niche audience that somebody wants, you could have 5,000 people or 500 people. But if they're engaged and move the needle, you can almost name your price and they'll give you something reasonable, and you can throw CPM out the window.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, I agree with that, Bez. I like that, Bez, too. And I have to say, I've worked with micro influencers in the food space, and one of them in particular, they were really. This is going back a few years, and they were really early on. They were on Instagram. And I worked with some that were on Instagram that had much bigger following, but this had like maybe only 10,000 on TikTok. And we had them going to these restaurants, and one of the restaurant owner came back and said, I know I've had people coming in from that dish that they showed. And they just had such an avid sort of, a really strong following that were really going and trying out everything that they were suggesting. So you're exactly right, Bez. Like, micro influencers can be really powerful because they've got a really loyal following.
Yeah, it's different because once you get like the Kardashians, it's really hard, or because you're so wide spectrum that you lose. Like, while that is appealing because you can actually play to the numbers, but there are brands, like big brands, that want, hey, I want a certain audience, and it doesn't have to be big, but they just got to be engaged and move the needle. And that's why, when I tell people, like, when you do stuff, okay, Keith, you've got 20,000 on LinkedIn. That's not too shabby. That's pretty good. And if you start to count,
it is.
I got, Keith, how many you got on Twitter? Like 100,000?
58,000.
Okay, 58,000. That's not
there
too
you
shabby.
go.
I mean, I know you don't play in Twitter anymore, but 58,000 is something. I mean, you start to count, like, these people that have 5,000 here, 5,000 there, 10,000 here on different platforms, but maybe on a couple of them they're really engaged and their audience engaged. Oh my goodness, the brands love that. They want
model, isn't it?
that.
It's like you watch an ad for a Subaru on the TV and you go, okay, that ad reached 2 million people because we're watching The Voice and it's halftime and they're just about to announce the winner. And they're giving away a car and they do this car ad, right? And then 2 million people see that car ad. But how many people in that room watching The Voice are watching The Voice to see a car ad for Subaru? Probably zero.
Right.
And
I like you watch an ad for a Subaru on the TV and you go, okay, that ad reached 2 million people because we're watching. There you go again, Bez. You're cheating. Just about to announce the winner.
Oh man, my bad. My bad.
What are you doing?
It's a mistake.
So we probably need to wrap it up. We have been chatting to Amanda Mills, a Melburnian, a mate of mine, who's got a brand new book out, From Media Shy to Media Savvy. Contact Amanda on LinkedIn if you want a copy of that book. You can buy it, I think, on Amazon or where all good books are sold. Tell us a bit more about the book, Amanda, and how can we get it?
Yeah, it's definitely available on Amazon. So if you just tap in that title, From Media Shy to Media Savvy, it'll come up straight away. So you can purchase it that way. Or, contact me on LinkedIn, and I do have some copies here as well. So, fantastic. But thanks for having me on our show. And I'm definitely looking for a sound guy for you. Someone that's in sound. Please. Yes, I can't wait to find that for you, Keith.
So my thing is that I test tech.
Yeah.
I test tech. So my ideal client would be someone like JB Hi-Fi.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Or Manny's Music or Officeworks. And the marketing manager for Officeworks said, look, everyone's got a podcast going. We have this special on this Audio Technica 2100. Here's what it sounds like. And because you're on Keith's show, you can have it for $99. That's the sort of show I want to do. I want to do the wine TV of podcasting. Here's the mic. And if you buy it today, you can have it for $99 and we'll send it anywhere in Australia for free and you'll have it by the weekend. That's the show I want to do. I want to be the Gary V of podcasting. I'll put it out there now. I've already got the uniform, black T-shirt and jeans. I wear the beanie. I've got the attitude. All I need is a sponsor. So you go and do your thing.
Okay. Thanks so much. It was great chatting to everyone. Yeah.
Hello. Big round of applause.
Amanda.
Big round of applause.
Thank you. Bye. And I'll chat to you all soon.
Bye, Amanda.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Oh no, she's gone. Oh, she's gone. Oh, that's enough. So, what do you think, guys? What do you think we can do? And let's keep this moving. What do you think we can do to prepare to go on interviews, and what were the talking points there? Bez, what do you think? What were the takeaways for you there?
Oh man, we covered a lot. So I mean, one is, sharing and bringing your audience to the the host audience, right? So it's like, as a collective, can we try to find a way to make that work and bring two audiences together? You gave a great example about a startup band and an established band. I think those, what happens is the small players, or the small um, bands or groups or influencers, they miss opportunities because they fail to leverage an opportunity, right? So if someone has so anyways, those are one of the things. We talked about other things. There were some takeaways. So my brain is mush right now. I've been eating a lot of watermelon. So America, what do you think?
Well, that's a great way to
And
to ease yourself up. Fantastic. Well, for me, there's the one takeaway that perhaps we didn't talk enough about is preparing the pre-live. Some guests prefer a scripted or structured conversation, and others can just shoot from the hip and improv their way through it. Amanda did touch on it when she mentioned, if you're an expert in whatever field you're in, you should be able to just shoot from the hip and answer any questions. But some people who are well articulated prefer to have some kind of structure. Now, I personally try to create an agenda, some talking notes, and I'll share them in advance with my guests so that they're prepared. But I try not to make it a script, because it can very easily become very mechanical, or just someone reading from a Q&A. But that was one thing I wanted to ask and put in the chat. But seeing how we hit 100 comments and we're having some wonderful conversations, I kind of held back on asking the question on what Amanda's thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot, and this is a very, very good point, because I'm a host. We are hosts. We have run shows. Our number one pet peeve is that people don't prepare. And I must admit, as someone who runs a lot of shows, it's quite difficult to generate questions for each show for each person. And I will try to do this more, because I've heard it a few times. I'm hearing it, so I will do it. But what I really want people to do, and this is why I do the sound check show, I want people to come, and I give them plenty of notice. Sound check show tomorrow. Our show's not for 4 weeks, but jump in tomorrow and check your mic if you've got time. Here's the link. Okay, you didn't make that one. 3 weeks to go. Like, the person who's on next week still hasn't done a sound check. The person who is in 2 weeks still hasn't done a sound check. And I haven't heard from them. So I'm already thinking I've got to talk to the rooster on that one. So I'm already preparing some secondary stories just in case they don't come, because they often don't come. And it really pisses me off. I mean, you can just imagine. It really pisses me off. So I'm really fascinated by the idea that guests need notes, because they obviously have never run a show, and they have never worked out how hard it is. But America, how do you do that? How do you find that middle ground between giving them something to work with and just managing the process of running a show?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I lean into AI for that. I'll have a subject matter that I'll cover that focuses around my guests, and I will tell my guests, hey, here's what I'm going to lean on. I'm going to lean on your LinkedIn profile, your about section, and I'm going to enter a prompt. I'll enter a prompt using ChatGPT or Copilot in this case. I'll talk about my show. I have an upcoming show. Here's my guests. Here's the URL to their LinkedIn profile. What are some questions I can ask based on their skills? And it gives me a couple of questions to pick from. So I will then use that as my base. I'll run it by my guests in advance. Here are some of the questions I've queued up. May not ask all of them. I prefer when there's good, solid engagement from the audience that we drop the questions and just feed off of the audience's energy. And it works. A list of 10 questions. Sometimes I'll get through 3. Sometimes I'll get through 4 or 5, but I never get through all 10.
That's good. Very good. What about you, Bez? How do you prepare for guests who want a bit of structure?
I mean, everybody's a little bit different. While I'll do a run of show, which is not perfect, but it's a way to say, okay, I'm going to talk about this for this amount of time. I'm going to do this with the guest for this amount of time. And I think that's something you should share with the person who's coming on, so they have an idea. Some people do a pre-interview meeting. Some people just send it over and say, hey, here, email it over. Here's what we're going to do. Whatever works. But I think, the famous host, Larry King, he was a master at reading the person he was in, or the guest, and he may have wanted to go down a direction, but then the guest would say something very small and innocuous, and he would go down that rabbit hole, and you'd find out something new that nobody knew about the person. Yeah, Ray says someone genuinely curious, right? And man, you're right, Ray. Those were the best interviews. I mean, they were so authentic. Sometimes the people would be crying. I mean, he was a master at that. But you know what that takes? It takes someone like, not only to be genuinely curious, but to listen, like active listening. And then it becomes a judgment call. Should I go down that rabbit hole? Right? Not all rabbit holes are that. But I think, look, Keith, that's a great question. But you first have to take into account who you are and how do you like to do things. And then as you have different guests, then you say, okay, how can I configure this to work with my style and bring them in and it still work for the both of us? And that's a whole different skill set that sometimes when you put two people together, I'm sure, Keith, you've noticed this, America, anyway, it's like they may be a great person, but the interview is so dead, right? There's not that yin and yang. There's not that good flow. And they may have a good story, but they were like a bump on the log. I don't know. Am I talking?
No, this is important. I want to share this very important story, which is why I don't typically send out questions ahead of time. And I don't go, because it is time consuming. I had this friend, a very good friend of mine from Vancouver. I said, look, I've got a book out. Can you send me some interview questions about this book? Here's the book. Send me 10 questions. Okay. So I just made up 10 questions based on some of the titles in the book. That took me time, right? But I did it because she was a friend. And she sent me back her answers written out to those questions. I said, oh, well, you didn't have to say that. Just turn up. Right? And then when she came to the show, she read from that script. It was the worst interview I've ever done or ever heard. It was so boring. And there was no room for flexibility. I tried to take her out, but she wouldn't go. And I will never do that again. The interview is the interview, and sure, I don't want to put you in a difficult spot, but it's an interview, right? It's got to be a little bit human. Otherwise, you can just do a blog post, right? Just do a blog post. We should have done it as a blog post. That's how people typically do blog posts. They send you the questions, you write the answers, they copy it and paste it and create a blog post out of it. That would have worked. But, it was horrible. It was a horrible interview. We're still friends.
Keith,
Yeah.
But Keith, that may have been their best, right? Because they're petrified about doing something off the cuff, or to get authentic, or to get vulnerable, right? Because they're so guarded. There's so many layers to that.
No, that's good.
Yes,
And that's what
yes,
Amanda talked about yesterday. She said sometimes it's actually okay to say no to an interview.
uh-huh,
If you're not
yeah,
ready to be in an interview and you don't think you'll put your best foot forward, then don't do it. Just don't do the interview. Because
right.
this idea that no publicity is bad publicity is actually bullshit. If you went on somewhere and sweared and carried on and talked really badly and the mic was bad it would just be shocking. Right?
Well, those type of interviews, like when you hear podcaster or show host locker room talk, you know what they talk? Those shows never make it. They never see the light of day. There's like, thank you for. We'll get that out. And they never publish it. But you hear that a lot. It's like, hey, it was a horrible interview. I'm not going to put that out. It doesn't meet my standard. And I guess that's the prerogative of the host, right?
Yeah. Well, that you don't have that luxury with live though.
True.
Yeah. So our friend Manny, who was on The Voice top 5, he said, "Mate, I have a standard. I do a pre-interview, and if you're not up to standard, no hard feelings. Just the answer's no. That's it. It's my show. It's my reputation on the line. This is his words, not mine. I'll give you a chance. You got to have a good mic and a good setup, and you got to have an idea. And we'll do a pre-interview, and I'll tell you if you pass. And if you don't pass, we don't go any further. If you don't have a nice mic and a headset and a decent room and a good story, you're not coming on my show." And he shows at a level. He's sort of like the Stephen Bartlett of music. That's where he's pitching, right? He has a very, very high quality show that has very, very high quality guests, right? And he can be picky. And we're not at that level yet. So I'm very conscious of the fact that people want questions, and I will do my best to try and work that into my schedule because there's only one of me. But what I'm really interested in is this, what I would call the 20th century paradigm of turning up and thinking that the content is enough. I'm not convinced it is. I'm not convinced you can just turn up with a book and say, "Hey, I know what I'm talking about, and this is what we're talking about," and do nothing. Am I ranting there, or is this? What do you think, Americo? Would you be happy with that? Would you give them another chance if they didn't do anything with the content? We got you there, Americo, or we've lost the signal?
He may be asking me a favor to take over.
Okay, what do you think, Bez? If someone came on your show and had really great content but did nothing with it, is that enough?
Like when you say content did nothing, what did you mean they did nothing?
They turned up, but didn't do a single thing after that. They didn't promote it. They didn't introduce it to your friends. They turned up, they talked, they went away.
Hey, depends who they are. I mean, hey, if they're, some famous person and, they have a huge audience, I'm just glad to be in that, in the, I'll leverage that. Right. I think, the reality is that if you have a personality that has a pretty big audience and a following, they're probably not that motivated to get up and promote your show. Okay. Because it really does nothing for them, right? They're already got their audience and their following. Now for you, it does do something, right? So you may have to do all the heavy lifting, tag them, leverage their networks. Hey, you sometimes have to know where you stand, and it's like that saying, beggars can't be choosy. Now they're not disrespecting you. It's just that they have their time is spent in other areas, right? So I don't know. That's my take. but I say Floyd says, but usually they will promote it, or their team will. Absolutely, they will. Because you know what, it is a win for them. Because imagine, even if you have a small audience, but it's the right audience. You
Yeah.
know how brands are wanting to work with micro influencers, because you know a huge celebrity with a huge audience, the spectrum's too wide. They're really niching down on audience. So if I was had a bigger audience, and Keith came along, and I was like, oh, he's really in tune with this niche, and I desire that niche, then heck yeah, I'd be giving you some love, right? And I think there's opportunity on both sides, and whose responsibility is to convey that value proposition. I guess it all depends who you are, but for me, I'll own that, right? And make the pitch.
I love this. It's very important that we're having this discussion because one thing we discussed today is that I and several people that we know are creators. I actually honestly don't have time to listen to other people's podcasts because I'm doing my own.
Mhm.
I don't have time. And I don't. I sometimes go on other people's shows to support them and sit in the background and make comments and promote it for them. But I'm doing that more as a friendship. I'm not particularly engaged in the content. I just don't have time. I don't have the mental bandwidth. But if you're on a consumption cycle and you're consuming podcasts, you would have a totally different view of this because creating content is bloody hard, as you know best. It's
Yeah.
time consuming. It's
Oh yeah.
it's time sucking. Uh, um, and I think Americo's sort of left for the night. Or do we want to give him another chance? Are you still there, mate? Or you're stepping away? Stepping
He
away from
said he said he's stepping away for a minute, so he'll be back.
yeah.
So, but I
So
agree with you. I agree with you, Keith. I mean, these conversations can be layered and complex. I don't know if you see this guy commenting along, Ray Floyd. Do you know him? Because he's making
yeah,
some good
he's
comments
in
in the
LA. I've
chat.
sent him the link. Jump in, man, if you want. He's a pretty big shaker and mover down there. I've sent you the link if you want to jump in, Ray. So the thing that's really interesting about this micro influencer idea, like if Gary Vee came on my show, and let's just say that, if Gary Vee came on my show, I would be happy that he came on my show. But there's nothing in it for him to come on my show, so he probably won't. And remember, I've had the biggest. I've fallen off the cliff. I've already fallen off the cliff. Like I've been an entrepreneur since 2006, and I nearly didn't get up. I got up again, but I'm not putting myself on the cliff again. I'm not doing that. It just hurt too much. So I've been there, and it didn't work, and I fell off. Right? I'm not getting up. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing it for fun and for friendship and for a sort of an education, but I'm not chasing. As we've often said, Bears, I'm not a hunter. I've lost that instinct. Right? I fell off the cliff. I nearly died mentally, emotionally. I did die emotionally, but I got back up. Someone
Keith,
got me out of bed again.
so let me ask you a question. So you're a huge Gary Vee fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then why wouldn't Gary Vee talk to you? I mean, he's really kind and approachable for the small creator. I mean, you see him talking to kids and stuff and giving
Yeah,
encouragement.
you might be right. If I pitched it,
You
if I
know,
got him on a good day, he might come on my show.
well, the worst you can do is say, "Hey, I'm a super fan. I would love to bring you on my show." Yeah, it's and you just tell him what you like about him and how, come at an angle. Like Amanda says, it's all about angles, right? And why wouldn't he want to talk to you? I mean, he talks to the kid, that 20-year-old that just getting started, and says, "Look, you've got your whole life ahead of you, right?" And so I think I'll give you an example. Um, I had a friend, and his son, uh, because of Gary Vee ran in the same circles as my friend. I was speaking on stages. When his son graduated, they arranged an interview, and it just Gary Vee's over on the East Coast. This guy's on the West Coast. Um, this is a really fascinating story because the dad said, "Hey, talk to my son. Since this is what you do as a headhunter." So I talked to him, and he says, he told me he actually had an interview. It just didn't go anywhere. Just whatever happened. And it was an internship, right? A 3 month. It wasn't nothing big. He had just graduated from a name brand school, and I said, so what happened is that there was a lot of people in that email string. And so he got the interview, and then it went nowhere. And I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to lose everybody on that email string, and you're going to lose your dad too. And you're going to reply to Gary Vee, and you're going to say, thank you for the opportunity to interview. Hey man, it didn't work out for whatever reason, but hey, if things change in the future, let me know. I love your organization. Love to get in there. And he ditched everybody on the email string, sent the email just like I told him to. He said within 5 minutes, Gary Vee had replied. And I said, well, what did he say? He said, he didn't say anything. I go, what do you mean? He sent you an email, didn't say anything. He just sent a winky emoji. Yep. And I go, okay, what happened after that? He goes, the VP who had interviewed me called and was apologizing to me. And I go, okay, hold on. Do you see what just happened?
Yeah.
That you have to understand the power dynamics, because nobody owes you anything right now at your point in your career. And then I went on to say a bunch of things like, and I'm saying these things because you have to understand the dynamic in the room, and you understand where you are in your career, right? You're starting, but there's an advantage in a position of starting to someone who understands where you're at. And so anyways, what ended up happening, he got the internship, right? And then the Olympics happened. Was it in Australia?
Sydney Olympics, 2000?
No. What was the last Olympics a couple years ago? Where was it?
2024? Tokyo.
Yeah. Tokyo. Was it Tokyo? Okay. This guy was the guy who he went from an internship, then he got on board full time. He was doing a play-by-play and social media thing for the surfing contest for a major brand via VaynerX. From a winky emoji to now like a multi-billion. Yeah.
It's good.
So Gary Vee is what I want to just say here is that he's probably more approachable than you think you are. Everybody thinks he's not approachable, and it's the people that take their shot that make something of it. So I encourage you to go after it, man.
Yeah, that would, and that's a very good example. If Gary Vee came on my show, I wouldn't need him to do anything else, because just turning up would be my win. But the thing I'm talking about is that people who have no credibility think they're Gary Vee.
Okay. They don't do the work.
So I'm a sort of, I was going to say meat and potatoes, but that's not the right sort of phrase. I'm a sort of boots on the ground type of guy, and I don't have any delusions of grandeur anymore. I did in my early days. But I love the idea that we're all helping each other, right? And it grates me really, really strongly if it seems to be a one-sided relationship, I'm sure this is what Carol thinks about my approach to housework. So, she does the vacuuming and the washing, and all I'm doing is mowing the lawn and putting the dishes away. So, I reckon it's a 60-40 relationship. I think she recently said it was 80-20. But I feel a little bit like that, that I'm doing all the work, I'm doing all the promotion, and the person comes on and does nothing with it. This in recent times, because I'm having this chat, I'm setting expectations. But I've had people turn up 5 minutes before no sound check and just turn up, talk and go away, and I never hear from them again. It's not right. It's not the world I live in. It's not the world I want to live in. Yeah. And
Well, think about this, Keith. Look at YouTube Shorts, for instance. We're talking about guests coming, dropping in, saying what they have to say, and exiting. We're now living in a disposable, global everything. The economy is disposable. What we buy is disposable. What we're consuming in terms of content has got to be short, because people's attention spans seem to have just diminished to close to nothing. And how am I promoting? How are we promoting our shows? I'm now going on creating 30, 40, 60-second shorts to try to grab people's attention spans to come spend an hour with me.
Let's have a chat about that. How is that working? I really want to pick up on this, because a little bit like me not watching the news or not reading the paper. I don't watch videos. I might be the only person in the whole world doing that, but I don't watch videos. Right? And I'm fascinated by the fact that people can get some value out of a 15-second video, and that can be something. I'm just so fascinated by that, because I don't watch them. So how are you going? What's working? And let's have that chat, because we want to promote the shows that way, don't we?
Yeah, it's still in its infancy stage, but it's gaining momentum on YouTube much quicker than it did when I tried it on other social channels. And that could be just the demographic. So I might be getting views, but just views from the wrong demographic, because everyone who's watching shorts might be that 20 to 30-year-old audience, probably has no interest in what I have to say or what the guests I'm bringing on have to say. So it's really about finding a length that is consumable and transferable, where people will say, all right, let me catch this live, or let me subscribe to this channel and come back to it and listen to the replay. I'm still finagling with the numbers. I mentioned this morning, the one thing I haven't tried, and I'm going to start testing it just so that I have a sample, is creating shorts the day of the show. Because I've created shorts
in the morning of it, or afterward.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done them before. Hey, here's what's coming. Look out for it. And then I've done, hey, here's what we spoke about yesterday. Why don't you take a visit and listen to the replay? What I haven't done, and I'll do it for a couple of weeks, is, hey, later today, join us, and here's the conversation. Here's the subject matter we're going to cover. So I'm thinking, will there be a different appetite, a different lens? And because it's, what's the saying? Out of sight, out of mind. So I'm getting good views, decent views, but am I timing it incorrectly? So I got to try this in a different time sequence to see what really resonates with people who are getting something out of these short trend. I think it's a trend, but people are telling me it's far from a trend. It's here to stay. This is how people consume content.
Let's pick up on this. This is a slight morphing, but it does talk about the process we've been talking about today, and that is how to prepare for interviews and blogs and podcasts. I am still trying to work out how to do these 60-second or even 15-second snippets, and if or not that would actually generate listeners to the live show, which is my ROI. What do you think, Bez? Are you playing around with short videos? Have you heard anything about that? What do you like? What do you use?
Well, actually, that's part of the strategy that I have coming up. Working with a VA to outsource some of this stuff, because I don't have the time, but I can put a strategy together, right? One thing is that a lot of this, like in LinkedIn, you don't want to post multiple. I mean, I think you can post twice a day, but LinkedIn has, it's better, it has that longer tail. But there's other platforms that you can experiment and cut up and post 5, 6, 7 times a day, the TikToks, the Instagrams, and all these. So you gotta test stuff out. Also, something I'm hearing a lot of buzz about lately, Pinterest. Have you guys heard about Pinterest? Like that
Hearing
stuff
again
can
about
be around. Hmm?
Hearing again about it. Well, I mean, it's been
I
around since
know
2010.
Yeah,
What are you hearing? What are you hearing?
that it has a long tail, 6 to 12 months. And it's like a visual search engine type of thing. I mean,
Hmm.
America, you've heard any of things because there's a lot of people now getting on Pinterest been around for a long time, but we sort of discarded it, but it's coming back. People are saying it gets good results. So I'm going to
well,
test it out too.
I don't know that it's coming back. It kind of goes in ebbs and flows,
Right.
and whatever's trending on typically TikTok or IG uh, typically has a ripple effect when people test it and try it on Pinterest. I've heard the same thing happen on with Reddit, uh, where Reddit has next to Google, Reddit has the next largest SEO power.
Wow.
So I haven't dabbled in Reddit, but when I read this, it's like, is it something worth looking into? But I go into the Reddit feed and I see comments from 6, 7 months ago, and it seems very stale. So I don't know if I'm not using it enough in order to refresh the feed, and it doesn't know what I'm looking for, and I got to play around with it long enough so that it starts pushing content that is relevant to me. But
You
yeah,
have
I've
to
heard
get
the
in.
same thing with Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Reddit.
You go, mate.
No, just real quick, in Reddit, you just have to get into an active subreddit, right? Which is a channel or whatever, but they call it subreddits. So if you're one that you see it has no activity in 6 months, then that's a dead subreddit. But there's some very active ones too, and you can pick. There's a lot of information in there. So yeah, you must have been in a dead one. Go ahead, Keith. Sorry.
Well, I'm very interested in this because I'm a very active researcher. I'm not the sort of person to say I have heard that Pinterest is working. I'm the sort of person to say, mate, I tried it, doesn't work for me. Well, I can tell you for sure, 100%, no exceptions. Email marketing does not work for me. I've tried it, doesn't work for me. Right now, I can tell you for sure that LinkedIn does work for me, and I've got strategies around that. But I love the idea of testing it. Testing it. Do it. Have a go. See what you think. If it works, come back and tell me. I'm not that fussed about someone said at a party that I went to that Reddit's the thing. Well, that's good. I want to hear your story. I want to hear that you've done it and that you're winning. And well, how did you do it? And you're doing a lot of this, America, aren't you? You are testing videos. Which ones are working and which ones are getting crickets?
Yeah, for me, it's about pushing the envelope, and I know a lot of people don't want to do it despite talking about doing it, trying to manifest these ideas, but they're afraid of what the algorithm is going to do and how they're going to be looked at. And I want to be that person who doesn't really care, just turns a blind eye to the algorithm. Let's do this. Let's do this live and see how people respond. And sometimes you hear crickets, and sometimes that you get engagement, and people say, "Hey, how many of these tests do you conduct? How often are you doing these?" Well, you keep throwing the ideas at me, and I'll test them for you. And if you don't come at me with any ideas, believe me, there's enough swimming in my head that I'm all right.
I want to share this really cool story. A friend of mine, I think he now lives in Brussels, but he's actually from the US. He's a LinkedIn expert, a LinkedIn trainer. And we were talking about videos, and we're talking about the idea of, well, who watches videos? Do you use YouTube? Do you use Instagram? Do you use TikTok? Do you use Facebook? And Facebook got like about 2% of the vote. 80 people say voted, and 2% said Facebook. And so Mike said, what would happen if we switched out Facebook and made it LinkedIn? You reckon that result would change? And I said, oh, well, let's try that. That's an active. I love polls. I do them every day. So I swapped it out. And this is a really interesting thing. Facebook got 2% of the vote. LinkedIn gets 14% of the vote. Right? So people on LinkedIn love LinkedIn. They're going to use it. If you're on LinkedIn, and I'm testing people on LinkedIn, and here comes Matt Molker. This is good. So I love testing things. I love doing research and talking about it from my experience. Email marketing may work for you, and people say it works. Doesn't work for me. I know this for sure. Some people tell me about these cool radio shows or these cool television shows, and I watch them and I go, I don't like it. I know you like it, and I know it's had thousands and millions of views. It's not my thing. But thank you for letting me know. I'm happy to have a look at it. And I say to them, oh, mate, have you watched? Oh, I hate that show. What do you mean you hate it? It's my favorite show. I watch it every night. I feel a bit offended. What do you mean you hate that show? Oh, just not my thing. So I love the idea of testing. And America, I want to pick up on this, and then we're going to throw to Molka, who has a brand new podcast coming out, and she's going to tell us all about that. And she's got a structure. We're going to talk about that as well. Mate, what is working? What do we need to try that could get us some kudos? We want to drive people to our content. What's working, do you think?
You're asking me now?
Yeah. Of your experiments that you're running, what's working? What's next? What do we try?
So the whole content trilogy piece that I've experimented with works because it creates awareness through polls, and it starts to culminate engagement. And I've noticed that you get people who kind of tag along that whole trilogy. They come, they engage with the poll, they're now compelled to want to engage with the show because the poll is part of that subject matter. And you touched on the UGC. I'm starting to see an uptick in post-production content that is being created and curated by my guests, my listeners, and that's what's working for me. Now I just got to scale it and just get volume out of it.
So tell us about the content trilogy. What does that mean?
So just to play on words, I found that at some point, and it probably had the epiphany a couple of months ago, where my content was competing with my shows, and it was a struggle trying to come up and produce a show, have content for the show, and then do nothing with that, because I was trying to come up with a separate entity and a separate conversation within my content, my written content, my short form, my long form, and gave myself a shake and asked, like, what am I doing here? I'm just creating work unnecessarily because my content is staring me right in the face. My shows should be my focal point, and you build the hype and awareness for that show. Your show is my main event. It's the main stage, which I'm always willing to share that stage with someone else. It acts as, my marketing tool, my marketing funnel, because now it's social selling. We're having conversations, we're educating our audience, we're keeping our audience engaged. And what happens afterwards, starts to act as social proof. Here is the fallout and the reactions that we're getting from these shows. Right, we're starting to get
can we break down the three things? You're doing the shows, so that's one part of the content.
Right.
You're creating content before the shows. That's the second piece of the content. What's the third piece?
So the third piece is a combination of the UGC, and typically I'll post something post production,
Post production. Yeah.
which in many instances is thanking my guests and talking about the key points. Sometimes it's lessons learned. Here's some takeaways, just to keep the conversation going and getting people intrigued to want to go back and listen to the replay.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. I love this. Now, Molka, you talked yesterday and we've been talking today. Amazingly, Molka has the same connection point on her mic as I have. I had a lot of trouble finding this mic connection. I had to go to YouTube and Google how to find these cables. But you've got a brand new podcast coming out. Tell us about it and tell us how you plan to promote it and how you plan to prepare it. A lot of people want to know this. A lot of people want to make content. A lot of people have trouble finding the time to make content. Tell us how you're doing it.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me. The podcast is set up to be let me start from the beginning. The podcast will be about AI, robots, technology, and it's from a women's perspective. And it is a show that will be pre-recorded, and our intention is to deliver it on Friday evenings around 6:00, which is, I think, based on research, a great time slot, because it coincides with commute on the way home as opposed to the earlier part of the day. So we will be distributing our first version of this January 18th. In terms of the actual setup, the structure of the podcast, we have it set up where we will be taking headlines within AI, robotics, and/or technology. It's 2 topics per host. There's 2 of us, and we will discuss it, and we will just use our experiences to help us decide on what we want to do or what we want to discuss. In the middle, we'll have sponsors, and we also intend, and we have 2 now, and we intend to add in a secret word, which is our way of connecting with our audience as a result of not being a live podcast. So the intention is to have people listen in, but we want them to feel like they're part of a community, or to build a community. We want them to interact with us on some level. And right now, I guess the best way is to use this secret word, and we would tell everybody that they should find that word, and then in the comments they will write in what the word was, and if they can remember the timestamp of when the word was used, that would be our way of following up with our audience. And then we would also follow up the last part of our podcast with answers to questions that people can write in questions, but they can send it to me through LinkedIn. They can send it through our website. So that's that. Now, in terms of actual setup, this is very long. In terms of setup, the intention is to have the podcast distributed through rss.com. And the reason for that is because we feel that there are a lot of options that we can explore after recording. So, for instance, we can have the recording turned into a video using avatars. We can have our notes written. We can, distribute it, and it will be distributed to all of the major podcast places on our behalf. So that saves us some time. Now I'm not speaking on the microphone that you showed, but yes, I did my recordings earlier, and I am using a Sandotech. I hope that's the way you pronounce it. And Sandotech 900, ST 900.
Let's pick up on this.
My
You've mentioned a couple of things. This is very, very important. Like, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. One of the things I heard, I haven't heard this strategy for a while, but this is pretty cool. You have decided to drop your podcast at a certain time each week. Now, this is pretty genius. I'd be very interested to know if other people do this, because I don't do a podcast and I don't listen to them anymore. But the idea was, I think you said Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern.
correct.
Yep, you've worked out that that's a very good time for people to get the new podcast and listen to it, and it's something to look forward to. The Social Media Examiner used to do this every Friday morning, Saturday morning in the US, but we got it on Fridays. So,
Right.
and I know that they conditioned me to think every Friday there's a new podcast. Every Friday there's a new podcast. There's a new one. So
Yes, that's my intention.
every Saturday morning I would download the new podcast and listen to it while I was mowing the lawn or riding my bike or going walking on the beach. And they conditioned me to expect it. This is in itself a genius measure. How did you think of that? Who gave you that idea, or did you think of it all on your own?
No, actually, this particular idea is my idea. My co-host came up with the idea in terms of distribution and all the other things. But I just know from an SEO point of view that there's a time for everything. I mean, I time my newsletters that I submit on LinkedIn a certain time of the day or a certain time of the week, because I know I can't say it's 100% viewership or readership, but I know there's a high probability. And I am one of those personalities. I feel that if it's a win, then I'll go for it. If it's not a win, I'm not wasting my time. So until I can figure out a way around it, around whatever obstacle it is. And so with that in mind, that's why I chose this time period. I figured it's better to stack the odds for me as opposed to against me.
And let's pick up on this. You are obviously betting on the idea that your audience is in Eastern zone. So Toronto, New York, Miami.
No, actually, I figured if we drop it at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're on the East. And so as the hours go by, it'll reach the other time zones.
Okay, so 3 p.m.
So it'll still be a Friday. Exactly.
Yep. Okay. Now this is good.
And it'll still be an ideal time for all the time zones, or at least majority of the time zones.
And you
And
chose
then for
Friday?
anybody
Why did you choose Friday?
Actually, I wanted Monday, but with our schedules, Friday will probably be the day by the time we finish editing, and we have the time to not feel rushed, to put out a really good product.
This is an extremely good discussion. There is significant.
It's one-sided.
There's significant evidence about this. I do know quite a bit about this, and I'll bring Bez in on this. One of the strategies that has been talked about many, many times is stacking. So when you launch a podcast, you may not know this strategy, but it's worth trying. Load 6 of them.
Right.
So because if someone discovers your podcast at 4:30 on a Friday and they're on their way home, and one is on, and they go, well, when's the next one?
Right.
So when you start a new podcast, one of the very big strategies is to stack at least 6 at the same time so that people can get a bit of a run on, because people love binging.
Correct.
So, and then why that's important is it gives you a couple of weeks up your sleeve that you don't have to necessarily have one straight away. You've got about 6 weeks up your sleeve. Am I on the right track there, Bez? Have you heard this story too? Have you thought of doing it yourself?
Yeah, where you the network I belong to actually requires I have 6 recorded before they'll even publish the podcast. So that was like, it was strategic, not because they wanted to be mean or whatever. They're like, look, you can go ahead and do the internet radio right out of the gate, no issue there. In fact, do that. I'll help you get to the 6. the same time you can do the iStreaming TV or the internet streaming. So yeah, it's all about distribution and and being strategic and how and how stuff works on different platforms, because Malka's there using rss.com because she's going to have flexibility to distribute, and that's the operative word, is distribute, because
Yeah. Yeah.
what is out there today, tomorrow it's going to be different, right? And all these platforms like
share
Spotify is doing different things
Yep.
these days, so they're trying to focus on they're trying to compete with YouTube and YouTube Shorts, and so they're doing things with video and podcasting, and they're trying to monetize you as a creator, and they're trying to do things, and so we'll see how that goes. I mean, Facebook did that for a minute, Instagram, Twitter, same thing.
Yeah.
But
It's very,
YouTube's
very
is the
important
gold
because
standard.
what you're saying is really relevant.
YouTube is going to demonetize the shorts.
What was that, Malka? Say that again.
I said YouTube, from what I read, they plan to demonetize the shorts. So places like TikTok and Instagram and Pinterest are going to be the next gold standards. Potentially, we'll see which one of those companies grabs the most of the market share. And TikTok is an iffy thing.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I heard the same thing. Yeah, but it's hard to make money off mere seconds. Like when they look at their stats and how long
Yeah.
people are really looking at a short versus long form video, it's no comparison, right? And so,
Oh, definitely.
but yeah, you're right. I mean, the other ones have opportunity to grab that space, right?
Oh, definitely. If they can provide the right amount of incentive, I think it'll be good. I mean, the influencers have been using the other platforms. The streamers have been using YouTube, and a lot of them have made an amazing amount of money. And then you have all the business people, and YouTube has become middle-age friendly. So there's a lot of opportunity there. It's just a matter of trying to find the right way to have your voice heard.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we've talked about this, Malka. I'm pretty proud of this one. It might be one of my crowning achievements, and for all of this duplication that I've been doing today. I can say proudly that I have had a top 5 podcast on iTunes for 6 months. I can say that because it did happen. I can tell you exactly how it happened. And
Oh, wow.
that's one of my crowning achievements. I might put that on my gravestone. Top 5 podcast in business on iTunes for 6 months in 2008 when iTunes.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And the way we did that, this is how we did it. When we were doing this product, which ultimately did fail and did hurt, there was 5 of us. One of the people, a very clever person, said, okay, I'm going to interview all of you, and then one of you can interview me. And there's 5 people times 15 questions, 45 pieces of content. Each of them goes 5 minutes, right? Very high level quality show. What's your favorite book? What is your morning routine? What's one thing we can do today to save time? Things like this. Right? They only went 5 minutes. So what happened was she preloaded all of those 45. She did all the work and then preloaded the 45 to go out every day at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And it was the top 5 podcast, number 5 podcast on iTunes in business for 45 days straight.
Awesome.
She did all the work. I just happened to answer some of the questions, so I can sort of claim this by default. Then she said, this is so good, I'm running it again. So we ran it a second time, and we stayed in the top 5 on iTunes for 60 days, 90 days,
Right.
based on one strategy. 5 people, 15 questions, 10 minutes. Actually, 5 minutes. And I still have those podcasts, and they were bloody great. I only have the ones I did because there was 45 of them. But they're all very good. And what you're doing there is you're tapping into the consumption cycle. I love this. When's the next one? And is there any others? Can I listen to 3 at once? You've got to think ahead of time. And you've already the concept of doing a podcast is bloody hard. Like there's a lot of work, which is why I don't do them. There's a lot of work, and there's a time pressure. Oh shit! Friday, 5 o'clock. I've got to have a podcast out by Friday, 5 o'clock. But I've got so many other things to do, and the washing machine's broken, and the car's broken down, and I've got to go into the city, and geez, the lawn needs doing, and you're stressing yourself out for no reason. There's no reason to stress yourself out. Just prepare. So I would prefer that you had, and this was a strategy. Have you heard this story, Bez, or have you heard this strategy before? This idea of stacking.
Yeah. Just I'm interested in how you guys are doing it, but yeah, I've heard various forms of it. Am I doing it? No, not yet. So you guys are probably experts at it.
Show. Now, Mulk, something's going on there. You got the heater on. You're making a cappuccino. What's going on in your house?
Oh, you can hear that? I'm so sorry. That's my freaking air conditioner. I hate looking at it.
It sounds like the LAPD. Is that a helicopter?
Oh, God.
That is funny. The LAPD.
Now, what I might do here, this is a very good segue. I'm using my P4, and look, maybe I need to go to market as the sound snob. But did you guys hear that, or was I making that?
No, I heard it. I still hear
I
it.
can hear it, man. It's the LAPD. It's the helicopter, man.
I even heard the ball.
That's ridiculous. I've never looked at the West Coast. Oh my God. You guys are nuts. Who lives on the West Coast?
That's amazing.
Okay. I have to switch rooms. Just give me like 2 seconds, but I have to charge my my laptop.
Yeah. So
I'm
what I'm
so
going to
sorry.
do? No, don't be sorry. This is exactly what the show's about.
That's the
I am a
having
sound
fun with
snob, and I'm.
We need to spice it up.
So what I'm going to
What?
do, I'm very excited about this. Molka has I've never heard of this brand. I've never heard of the brand of microphone that she has, but she loves it, and it's a condenser mic, as you can tell. It's a condenser mic. You can hear everything, right? This is a very good story.
Actually, I'm not using it now. That's why.
Okay,
I'm here.
you're using
This
the
kind of
laptop.
crap.
Hope you can try that later.
I'm using Soundcore. Some crap or another. I walked it on the floor.
So,
Okay, is that better?
a lot cleaner. Yeah. So,
Okay, you might hear clacking on the keyboard though.
so what do you got? What are you using now?
Right now, no, I'm literally using El Cheapo. There's Soundcore.
Okay. But,
They are cheap. My son's going, they're not cheap. Shh, check it.
you're live across the world. Say what you want. But
No.
what I
I'm
want
not
to
across
do,
the world.
what I want to do right now, because this is my brand. We all heard
Yeah.
that air conditioner.
Uh-huh.
That we all heard it, and
Right.
most people, they go on these shows and they don't know because they don't hear it, and their body tunes it out. And you can do that for a certain level of podcast, and then you'll get to a stage where people are saying, look, if you're going to be on my show, you have to have a certain sound. So,
I'm so sorry.
no, don't be sorry. We are learning from each other. This is not embarrassing. This is important stuff, because this is the stuff that most people don't hear. This is the power of supersonic dog hearing. Like, most people don't have this hearing that I have. It's a bit of a curse, because Americo said to me today, Keith, mate, I can't unhear that now. Tell us about that, Americo. That's the event you went to today. You couldn't unhear it, could you?
No, I listen. I'm here to support people where I can, and I jumped into an event to provide support as part of my reciprocal relationships with so many members here on LinkedIn. And unbeknownst to me, I thought the show was typically run on Clubhouse, and they brought it back to LinkedIn, but they ran it like a Clubhouse room. So I believe, and this is purely speculating, but I believe they were all talking into their phones, and it sounded atrocious. It's like I don't know how much of this I can support, because I can now hear stuff that I can't unhear. I was totally oblivious to it until Keith opened my ears to it, and now I can't unhear it.
Yeah, and
Now you're
it's
cursed.
amazing because it is a curse, but I can tell you for sure,
gosh.
you're never getting on Diary of a CEO if you got the air conditioner on. I can tell you for sure.
Oh,
You're
definitely.
never
Yes.
getting on
Oh, he's
Diary
my favorite.
Yeah.
So
And-
in the
He's
spirit
my
of
favorite podcast.
here, in the spirit of transparency, I'll even share with you. I was hearing someone clicking a ballpoint pen, and I couldn't tell who it was. And I did,
Oh my god.
but you hear things, and it was like click, 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 click. Like, am I the only one hearing that?
Hey,
Oh wow.
Keith,
No. Oh,
Keith,
that's embarrassing.
don't feel bad.
I
Malta,
don't feel that bad.
I did it because that actually happened to me, Keith. I was interviewed for a podcast, and the host all of a sudden, like literally, she's in LA, and so the noise outside was so deafening. I said, "What you got there? The LAPD?" She cracked up. Like that's why I pulled that one out of my memory bank, because it sort of sounded like the same thing. But I guess the gardeners had come and they were like using, like, they showed up and they had the full orchestra. And like
Oh
like
my
literally, I couldn't hear her and she couldn't hear me, and we had fun with it, but. I kept referencing, well, it's the helicopters, the LAPD, they're there to protect us. And if you know,
They live
that
in the
means
middle of nowhere.
but
Why
But-
that's
but-
important?
it
Now,
happened.
that makes
It
that
happened.
content different. But what I want to do now, just a very strong point of view. I found this mic in a cupboard, and as an experiment, I thought I couldn't get it to work, so I thought I'll just get another. I did this experiment yesterday, but some of you may not have heard it. So this mic cost me $50 in 2020. I bought it at a shop, and it worked for a year and 1 day, and then stopped working. And I couldn't work out how to fix it, and I couldn't get the cable. And the reason why I'm excited about this is that Molka's mic works on the same cable. I had a lot of trouble getting the cable. So I found it, but have a listen to this. This is me on the Samson 2QU, right? Clean, lovely sound. Now listen what a condenser mic can do and what it sounds like. It's a shock. Listen to this. This is the condenser mic. Can you hear? I'm sitting in the
Wow.
same seat. I'm sitting in the same seat. And I mean, listen to all that noise. The fan's going, there was someone mowing their lawn before. It's noisy, it's hummy, it's buzzy. And if you don't have headphones on, you don't hear this. And it's thin. It's got a very thin sound. Like it's like very hollow. Can you hear that? Am I making this up?
Oh yeah, Keith, my ears
Yeah,
are hurting.
sure.
Stop.
Yeah.
My hands are up.
No.
My hands are
So
up.
what?
I'm
I don't
stepping
hear
away.
it.
I'm stepping away from the vehicle. All right.
Yeah, but what this is, watch this. This is a piece of magic. With the P2, I should actually go and work for Zoom. I should set up a Melbourne office. With the Zoom P2, they have this noise cancellation. Listen to this. Watch this noise go away. Did you hear that? Just went away.
Yeah.
A push of a button went away.
Oh,
Noise
wow.
cancellation. Right. So I'm so excited that I got this piece of tech, because now I can explain to people how that sound goes away. Zoom P2, right? Only works with USB mics, but it's bloody good. Very excited. This is what it looks like. And I should be better than, I should have some sort of mental business acumen. I should be selling these, but I love them. I'm happy to talk about them. But listen, let me play with some of those buttons. I can put a bass boost on. and I just dropped an octave. I just dropped an octave with the push
Oh
of
my
it.
gosh, I can hear it.
So there's
Yeah.
there's no sound. That's the bass, and then there's this bass boost. I just dropped an octave. I'm sort of sounding like Barry White, you know.
Yeah. Mama sang bass.
Soul singer from the 60s. And then it has this other one which I wouldn't use on this mic called a compressor. And what it does is it adds brightness and presence, but it also adds a lot of noise. Lots of noise. Right? So this is what a condenser mic sounds like with no effects. It's plugged straight in. It's lovely, but you can hear things.
Oh
You can
wow!
hear- Yeah, you can hear everything. You know, you're just tapping away. You can hear things, right? So this is what a condenser mic will do. And this is the one you have. This is what you have, isn't it, America? You've probably got a condenser mic,
Yes.
but it has USB, I think. Sorry, XLR. So it's plastic.
It has an XLR. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will never, ever, ever, if anyone asks me, if they do, I'll never ever recommend a condenser mic again. You know, as Taylor Swift once said, we are never, ever, ever getting back together. We, you know, for our environments, for us, you know, we the people, working from home, busy, kids playing, air conditioning on. The Deep Sound Ed Sullivan Show. Yeah, good. Deep Sound. So I've found my flow. This is what my shows are about. They're about finding ways to make your podcast better, finding ways to get more people to listen to them. And I don't see myself as Gary Vee or Stephen Bartlett. I'm not playing that game. And I'm not embarrassed. I'm not self-deprecating. I'm just not playing that game. I'm not playing at that level. I don't spend the money they spend. I don't have staff. I'm a guy. I'm a guy in Melbourne, Australia that loves tech. And I don't desire to be Stephen Bartlett. He's a cool dude who hires a studio probably or may even own it now. What you might not know, just in case you haven't ever heard this story, most people are hiring studios now. They don't own equipment. They hire studios. You see these pictures of people on Instagram or LinkedIn, more importantly, and they've got these wonderful mics and they're sitting in a cool studio and they're all cash and they're sitting on the couch and they're being interviewed by someone. Well, that's not their stuff, right? It's not that's not their stuff. It's actually in a studio, right? And someone said, "Well, mate, how much does that cost?" It's $200 an hour or $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. But when you go there, everything works. You just turn up and sit down and talk. It's guaranteed to work. They record it, send you the file. That's what. This is a true story. Have you heard of this stuff, Bez? Have you heard of people paying to go into a studio now to record, or are you sort of a bit of a do-it-yourselfer? And do you know people that do that?
I'm a do-it-yourselfer, but I actually the people are going into studios. So here in the United States, Walmarts are starting to have their own media studios that you can walk into and record.
Wow.
Walmarts. And maybe that makes sense because you were telling me they were selling Zooms, and I was like, "What, Walmart?" But they some Walmarts in some metropolitan areas actually have studios you can go and record. Look it up. You will see it. They have studios, and it's very
Fascinating.
reasonable. Their price, very reasonable.
Imagine this is a dream come true. Imagine it. I've got a side hustle going here. Imagine if I could go into the city and I said, "I tell you what we'll do today. I want to try the Rodecaster Pro 2. I want a Rode PodMic USB, and I want to run it through an Elgato gadget, and I want a Logitech headset, and I want one of these funky little button pusher things from a company that shall remain nameless for the moment because I've forgotten." But, and that'll be my day. And you go, okay, well, I've thought of doing this. I have thought of doing this. I'll talk about this in a minute. Okay, there's the Rodecaster. That's what that sounds like. Let's push the buttons. Here's the Rode Pod mic. They're $300, but let's push the buttons. Yeah, look, that's all right. I didn't like it. I'm not a waste of time. I had a good day and I shouted myself some lunch. Cost a couple of $100, but I didn't buy anything, and I didn't waste my money buying things. Tomorrow, I'm going to come in and I'm going to try the Zoom P8. I'm going to try a Audio Technica 2100X, and I'm going to run it through an Go XLR. Let's try that. That would be like my ideal life. I mean, I've got to get out more. That would be my ideal life. I just go to a shop that has everything set up and I pick them. I pick and choose them. Imagine that, Bez.
Mhm.
You know, you could just turn up and they can choose. But imagine if you could choose.
That'd be
I would just love that. I would just love that. There's an Officeworks near my house. I would love to just be able to go to the back room and pick and choose the gadgets. Yeah.
wow.
I'd
Yeah.
pay money for that. I would pay money for that.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
Can
it
someone
sounds fascinating
go ahead?
Yeah.
because that's what the outdoor shops, Bass Pro and Cabela do. If you want to try a crossbow or a firearm or anything that's hunting related or outdoors related, you can book time to test the products. Now, if Walmart's leaning into that same ideology for sound and tech, that is a niche that hasn't been seen here, at least in
Amazing.
Canada.
Because
Amazing.
in order to try the P4, you've got to buy one, right? And you've bought it and you go, good. Now I want to try the P2. Well, I've just bought the P4. I don't need the P2. And now I want the P8. That's every time you've got to buy it. You've got this bit of gadgetry in the house and it's cost you a couple of $100. Imagine if you could go there for, say, $100 an hour and just try all the stuff. Oh, man. Like we've got a model. We've got a model.
That sounds amazing.
Imagine that. Bez,
Well-
tell me more. I'm going to research this.
Okay. So
We don't
so-
have Walmart here.
Okay, so think about this. When the big boxes like the Home Depots, Walmarts, anybody, the Targets, whatever, when they put a store somewhere or McDonald's, like McDonald's very famous for this. It's not the location is very strategic and researched. In fact, when a lot of times the Walmart will go by secure a site, you won't even know it's them. It's like some trust or something or third party, because if it becomes known it's Walmart, then the price all of a sudden goes up because you were talking commercial real estate, commercial property, right? So in the beginning, when they're doing so location of stores are not accidents. It's very scientific for them. They're gonna make money if they open up a store. If the Walmart's on this corner, is gonna make money. If Walmart's here, the Home Depot, whatever stores, it's no accident. Now you walk into a Walmart, they have cash registers. We call them point of sale, POS. Okay, there's massive, what they call massively parallel processing, massively large. There's a term. These huge databases, they're processing all this data that comes in from the stores. Like the product placement inside a Walmart is not an accident either. Why do you think they put the beer and the Pampers next to each other? That's not an accident. So we're going to stretch this a little bit. If Walmart is now saying we're going to put a studio in our Walmart, well, go back. Okay, they got the optometrist there, right? Now, them actually even have where you can see a doctor. So that's not an accident. They say, okay, there's an opportunity there. The numbers support it, right? They have a pharmacies in Walmarts now. You know, okay, great. If they're going to put a media bay or a production studio somewhere, I want somebody else who was at business. I would put one near them too, because they know something I don't know. So here's what Walmart has. They have a footprint all over the United States, probably in many parts of the world.
Canada,
I know they're in Mexico. I'm sure they're in Canada. Okay, so think about this. This is because they decide Walmart and a production studio does not compute. But you know what? They're seeing something I'm not seeing, and they're taking a strategic advantage of an opportunity that their data supports. So read into that, because if I was doing production studios, I'd set one up right next to Walmart and I'd compete with them. So
Yeah, well, I want to pick up on a really important idea. Most people don't know this, but I used to play bass guitar, and I went to the shops, and people are going, "Oh, mate, you again? You came in last week to try the Rickenbacker, you didn't buy it, and now you want to try the Fender Strat, and you're not going to buy it. Why should I let you play it? There's 3 other people who probably will buy things. You're sort of a bit in the way. Can you stop coming? Like this actually happened to me. Can you stop coming to the shop? Because you never buy anything and you just suck up our time. But imagine if you could go into a room and say, okay, for $100 an hour, you can try everything you want, no exceptions. You can plug this amp into this bass guitar, and you can try this keyboard with this pedal and this mic and this drum set, and you go at it. And then you're
exciting.
You're not under any obligation to buy anything, but guess what? You probably will, because you're thinking, man, that Fender bass through that amp in my own time when I had time to play with it without them watching me, trying to hound me to buy it. I'm digging this. I'm coming back tomorrow. And I reckon it could take off. I would pay money, because I found this is a very cool story. I found this place in Australia that hires equipment. I can get anything I want for about $10 a week. Anything you can think of. Rodecaster Pro 2, Pod Mic, P8, P4, P2, Tascam Mixcast 4, anything you think of. Just throw an idea at me. It's $10 a week, but you have to hire it for 6 months. And then at the end of 6 months, you either send it back or you buy it. You pay the freight either way, which is $25, and you've got $260 in hire fees for a 6-month rental of something you don't want to buy. So you might try the Rodecaster Duo, which is $700 to buy. You get it home and you go, it's all right. It's not exceptional. I'm not that happy with it. But you can't send it back because it's not broken. And you've just spent $700. So you try the Rodecaster Duo for $10 a week. It costs you $260. I don't mind this, but it's not what I want. Okay, let's try the Rodecaster Pro, which is $1,000. Try that for 6 months. Actually, this is much better. So you spent $520, but you got what you wanted. Then at the end, this is the genius thing. At the end of 6 months, they go, now you can buy this if you want. We'll take a couple of $100 off the top because you've rented it from us. So instead of paying $1,000 for a Rodecaster after hiring it for 6 months, I might sell it to you for $800. Win-win. I tried it. I like it. I'm buying it. This is a model of the world that exists today. I just can't get my wife to agree to teching me. So a Rodecaster turns up on Monday. I've got it for 6 months. It cost me $260. I don't like it. I send it back. It cost me $260 plus $50 freight, 25 times 2. What next? I really want to try a Podcaster Pro 2. Still $10 a month. It's $260. But I have no intention of buying it. I just want to try it. Because I know my mind. After 6 months, I'm ready. I'm ready to try something else. I know that how my mind works. I don't have to own the Rodecaster. I just want to use it. But the cheapest way to use it is to buy it. Until now. Walmart is on. We don't have Walmarts in Australia, but Walmart is onto something here. So I'm gonna research this. I can't find any information about it yet, but if they do it, it will take off.
Well, here's
Definitely. Definitely.
Here's the thing. I'm thinking of the Walmart footprint. I got 5 Walmarts surrounding me. I can drive 10 minutes any direction and hit a Walmart. But I've noticed that at each of those Walmarts, the photo studios are gone. and they were replaced with kiosks where you can put your USB card or connect your your cable from your digital phone and upload and print your photos. No one's going to take photos of you anymore, and nobody goes into a photo studio for a family portrait anymore. So could that square footage be what Walmart is going to repurpose?
Oh, it sounds like it. Or maybe they'll invest finally in, you know how they have the franchises, they have these machines where you can buy items. So for instance, there's this company that contacted me. They said that they're going to be selling Matchbox cars where you can go to a machine and you can choose the style that you want and it'll ship to your house. So I'm wondering if that's, part of their larger marketing plan, just taking all that extra space and converting it.
Yeah, and look, they might not even charge for it if they've got such amazing resale. I'm just sending a picture of
Probably.
what's now called the Peace Pod. This is a functioning thing that exists. I think they're $2,000. I think they're 1 meter by 2 meters, or maybe 1 meter by 3 meters. So you imagine setting up a Peace Pod with a Rodecaster Pro, a Rode Pod mic, and a laptop, and thinking, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking of buying. This is going to cost me about $3,000. Before I do it, look, I'm going to pitch this to Walmart. I mean, before I do this, can I just try them out to see if I'm going to, because it's a lot of money. Can I just try them out in configuration together? And then we'll just do a deal on the package. Yeah, well, you need a mic, you need a mixer, you're going to need a laptop, and you're probably going to need a pair of headphones. That's about $5,000 there. Why don't we just try it out, see if you like it. If you do, we'll change the config, and you add a pod mic or a NT1 or a Audio Technica. You might not like the headphones. You might want a different laptop. You find your exact perfect match. Tabulate that around and do a deal. I reckon that's a thing. I reckon that's a retail strategy. But I don't work for Walmart. But can you imagine? That might be the tech. This might be the shopping experience of the future. Can you imagine that? I would choose to shop that way. Imagine that, Bez. Could you imagine going in and trying all the tech and then just doing a deal at the end?
I mean, why not? I mean, inventory doesn't do good on the shelf. It just gets dust. I mean, so what? You get a few fingerprints on it and someone decides to buy it. And here's the thing. When I heard the numbers, oh man, this was about maybe even more. The numbers were like $75 an hour or 400 for 6. I mean, it was like a good deal. Like if you didn't have any equipment, you could actually, I mean, imagine don't have anything, but you have an idea for a show. You can put a Google Doc, run a show, and you show up, you book time, and you never own equipment, and you get sponsors pay for the time in studio, and you show up to a Walmart. And like Americo says that he's got 5 within, 10 minutes of his place, right?
Well, it's a thing because I know I did the research for Michael, and studios are $200 an hour or $1,000 a day. That's the deal. But they do everything, right? They record it for you. They make sure everything's working. They record it, they send you the file. You just turn up and talk. Right? That's one model, the gourmet model, the business class model. But imagine if you turned up and says, well, this is what I'm thinking I want today. I want a Zoom P4. I want an Audio Technica 2100. I want a really nice pair of headphones, and I'm going to need a laptop. Just have that all set up, and that's $100 an hour. Go for it. Just do what you want. I mean, how cool is that? How cool is that? I'd pay. That's a model.
I mean, talking about Podfade, hey, you don't even have to buy equipment, and you can walk in somewhere and like say, man, I don't like to podcast. I don't like to do this thing called a show. You haven't put any significant investment in equipment. You don't have to now try to sell it on Facebook Marketplace. You just walk away from it. You're this picture you're showing, I see these in libraries a lot. and they
Yeah, I
what
saw.
they do is so people can go have Zoom calls or record a podcast free. They don't. Now you have to bring your own equipment, but I see these pods in libraries.
Yeah,
We used to have these pods in the office, my last corporate job.
Oh wow!
Now, if you were going to build a whole heap of them in a shop, you'd probably be able to knock them up for $100 each. But if you just want one, this is a company that exists. They're called Peace Pod, and it's designed to give you peace in a noisy environment. I saw one in a real estate agent the other day, and you just walk in, close the door, and it's soundproof, right? And of course, you bring your own equipment. Carol, my wife, has these at work, and they call them escape pods, because you can escape from the noise of the day if you've got an important client. This is what they have them in her workplace. But imagine if this becomes a retail opportunity now. I'm really excited about this, Bez. Like, I'm extremely excited about this. I don't know where I'm going to pitch it, because we don't have Walmarts here. But I could pitch it possibly to Officeworks, which is the closest thing we have. Because for me, with what we call GAS, gear acquisition syndrome, I'm not sure if anyone's heard of this phrase. It's a thing. I've got mates with 7 guitars. You can only play one guitar at a time. 6 guitars go unplayed most of the time. Just in case I feel like a yellow Strat, I've got a Strat. And sometimes I want the Gibson Les Paul sound. And sometimes I want that Angus Young SG sound. And sometimes I want that Orianthi acoustic guitar sound. So you got to have the 6 guitars. Yeah, do you? Come on. 6 guitars. You need a whole room to hold your gear, right? This is what's happening to me. And I don't sell anything. I didn't sell this mic when it didn't work. I just put it back in the shed and I found it again. I should really sell these things. This is what obviously secondhand gear is about. But I never sell anything. I just accumulate it. But imagine if I could just give it back. Okay, I've tried the P2. It was all right. I'll give it 6 out of 10. Thank you. What's next? P8. Let's try that. I'm into this. I'd be up for that. And I reckon you could probably even make a business case, a financial case for it. It'd cost you less over time, I think.
Well, think about this. Probably the better person to approach and pitch this, because you were saying there is a music shop in your, maybe several where you live. Think about it. They already have the equipment. Maybe they don't have a Walmart, but they've got a music store that carries mics, amps, speakers, guitars, and everything. And all you want to focus on is, all the equipment that is for shows, to produce a show, right? And they're going to have all that equipment there. I mean, you walk into a music shop with a bunch of guitars, you go to the back and they've got a whole section of condensers, dynamic mics, like stuff that you and I wouldn't pay. Like, you got mics that are $1,000 and more. Think about that. They've got the equipment. You got a music store in your city. That's a great idea to pitch.
Yeah, there is a very big one. If I don't get it on Amazon, I buy a lot of equipment through another shop, and they don't have one near my house, but it's not far away. And Carol's learning guitar, and we bought her a Marshall. And there was a room out the back full of Marshall. Marshall's a type of amp. And there's all these Marshalls. And it was really amazing. This 6-year-old kid, this is an amazing story. This 6-year-old kid comes in, plays bass like he could be, on stage, and he's just rocking it. And we're looking at him going, man, well, where'd you get that from? What's happening there? And his dad's just looking at him going, that's my son. Hey, look at him. He's 6 years old. And he just picked up this amp, plugged it in, and it just...
Did we lose him?
I don't know. I think he
seems
left
like
a
it.
note. He said, "America take over." Yep, that's what I see in the
Yeah,
chat.
he's
Yeah.
rebooting. He's
He's
Australian
Oh, boy.
internet has a 3-hour lifespan and shelf life.
It's that cable.
Malcolm?
Oh,
under
that
the
and the
studio.
weather.
let's hear more about that show. When are you launching your
It
your
goes
podcast?
live.
January?
No, it goes live July 18th,
Okay,
a week
I
from
thought
this week.
I
Originally, it was
thought
the Monday, but we pushed it back or forward. How do you say?
It,
And
is it just women? That's it. No guests that might be men or aliens.
no,
I
no
qualified it
aliens,
as
no
an
men.
alien.
I'm an alien too. Too many places, but
I come in peace.
okay, I'm not even going there. No, it's just the hosts are only women. Right now, we're not opening up to having guests of any
Okay.
gender, whether it's
Okay. I'm a ghost,
yeah.
by the way. So, you know,
The thing that's very interesting about that,
The problem
Oh,
is that our
I'm back.
huh? Oh,
the ghost
ahead.
has arrived.
The thing that's very interesting about
Right.
that, Molko, is that there's a type of podcast called what am I thinking? There's a couple of different styles of podcast, and one is the host that talks.
right.
The second one is the host has guests, and the third one is the panel discussion. Well, the
Correct.
solopreneur or the solo podcast, or in your case, two hosts that talk but don't have guests. There's a significant sort of trend towards listening to podcasts with just people speaking without guests. Like there's a thing, a monologue it's called. Now, it's not a monologue because you've got two people, but you don't have guests. And there's a very, very strong trend to having podcasts without guests. Now, that doesn't make sense to me, but it's a thing. So you are
Well,
on
for us, it's educational.
because you
It's
don't
an
want to have
educational format.
guests. I'm very interested in this story. You don't want the bother. Like I'm thinking seriously about this too. You don't want the bother of having guests. You don't want to have to do all that work.
No, on the contrary, it's just that like I said, we started out having a third person, and that person was a challenge. So we were leaving it to the two of us for now.
No, it's good. It's a good model because you if you bounce off each other well, you don't have to rely on anyone else.
Correct. And so the goal is to take the educational model and or I guess and just go with that, where we're discussing things that are important. We're also talking about things that from a perspective of women. So, and the belief is, and I know I'm going to probably upset a lot of people, but the belief is that especially in AI and in technology, majority of the things are done by men. And like healthcare before, a lot of things were done by men for men. And so we would like to explore some of the things that are out there and even come up with ideas or solutions and how it should not only benefit men, but technology should really benefit, women as well as men. And so, we'll start with the headlines that are in, on YouTube or in the news, whatever, and we'll work for our way that way.
And where are you promoting your show? Like the 18th is just around the corner.
Right. So the goal is we're actually working on our site. And the goal is to upload the finished files to rss.com, and they do distribution. Is there something I'm missing?
No, I'm just like I'm trying to learn here this whole podcasting game. So on the 18th, these just go live. Like if I were following your social channels, I wouldn't know that you have a show coming up, that you're working on a show. Like there's no storytelling, there's no narrative that's going to lead your audience to the 18th.
Actually, there is on my LinkedIn profile. I believe today I had a very short post in announcing the fact that the podcast would be launching, and then on a 3-day, more or less, maybe 2-day sequence I have. So I will be putting up as well up until launch day. And then the day of the launch, I will put something up. And those posts will probably be in the morning hours, somewhere between 8 and 10. Again, because majority of the people work. My research shows that that's the most optimum time to post. So it should be then. It'll be there.
How,
Say that
losing?
again. I think we did. Oh no.
Well, I think you've been working hard on producing the show. Now, it's that you got to switch gears and promote it, and you're like, it's like you need 8
Yes.
arms, right? And you're like, what do I do first? What do I do second? What do I do third? So I totally get it. So but you do what you can when you start out, right? And then along the way, you might find a sponsor, or you might even find a sponsor before you launch. You never know. Somebody might, because of what your topic, women in tech, and specifically AI. There's a market for. Do you
Right.
know Stephen? Do you know Stephen Youngblood?
No.
Oh
No, I don't.
man, he's my buddy. He's a very big supporter of the Black community, and he runs a lot of AI Black think tank, and he runs events where he has everybody in his community, in the Black community, that come up and do things, right? He'll have an AI
Right.
week, he's very
hmm
supportive of women in tech and everything. Stefan Youngblood, he's in North Carolina. Let me see if I can find his LinkedIn real quick and send you his way. But you need to
Oh,
get to
okay.
know him. Yeah.
it's
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
So
It's
my
very
co-host is Caribbean, and she's Canadian. So we're trying to attract two sets of women or two groups of women. So we're looking at the West Indian women and the Caribbean women, and we're also looking at the women who are in Canada who may be from that descentage, and I guess regular Black people from there. And then we're also looking at women in the United States who will feel, hopefully will gravitate to what we have to say. So,
That's a good goal. Did I hear you say you've got some sponsors already?
yes.
Oh, you
We have
do?
one.
Oh,
How did you
Yes.
do that? Tell
We
us.
got two. We got
tell
two
us
with them.
more. Tell us about that journey.
Well, it believe it or not, it was just about, speaking about what we were trying to do. And so I didn't get them, but my co-host did. One of the sponsors is a nonprofit that's in Jamaica, and the other one is a sponsor in I forgot the name of the country. It's a Spanish speaking country that's in the Caribbean. It'll come to me
Puerto
soon.
Rico? Is that
No,
Dominican Republic?
no.
You see, it's a Spanish-speaking
Uh,
island in the
I have to.
Caribbean.
Correct. Now I have to look it up. Instead of
Cuba.
covering that.
Cuba?
No,
That'd
no,
be
no, no.
strange if it was Cuba. Cuba.
Cuba, yeah.
It
Caribbean
is Cuba?
island. No, it's not Cuba. Not not Barbados.
Dominican Republic?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No, it's Bajan, Barbados.
Barbados?
She's from she has in Barbados, right? So,
Oh, that's
oh
awesome.
my gosh. So we have both of those people. One nonprofit provides services to seniors because in the country that they live in, they don't have the added support like we have in the United States for seniors. And the other nonprofit provides food and medicine to the people in the more rural areas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. I
I'm
like
actually
it.
kind of excited.
Uh,
I'm really,
Well,
really thrilled.
well, if you're excited, it would excite me to find some time to bring you onto one of my shows. I host a variety of shows, and I co-host one with Kendra Noel. She's out in Casper, Wyoming, and it's a marketing themed show. She just launched
Huh.
her podcast, and I'd love to bring both of you on and just I'll even take out a step aside and just let it be an estrogen filled conversation. I'll just be the moderator.
Oh, I have nothing against men. Like, don't even go there with that. That's not true.
Away.
Like, I don't have it.
It's just that, you know what it is? It's what? What'd he say? It's
Like,
just that
I'd
when you
go
get
away
to a
from the
certain
vehicle.
age. No, it's just that when you get to a certain age, I think there becomes like an intolerance level. And so, like I said, the gentleman that we were working with, from the opinion of my co-host, is that, you know, we just felt that it wasn't a good match for us. And so that's it. But no, both of us are seriously straight. We're not like, you know, female presenting or anything, and no disrespect to anybody who does. It's just that, you know, we are women and we're happy to be, you know,
Hey,
birth women.
you don't have to explain yourself because
No.
we're just giving you a hard time, right? I'm
Okay.
actually, I understand that women in tech is a minority, big time, because it's a big bro
Sure.
culture, right? And so I
Exactly.
love that you're doing this, because you don't know, I'm a headhunter, I'm a recruiter, right?
Mhm.
And I talk to so many women, and the journey they have in tech is
Is
not that glorious. It's quite horrific,
Yeah,
if you ask me. And
sure.
yet we celebrate this tech bro culture, which is, you know, oh, the Facebooks, the stuff, but
Right.
you know, there's another side that in Silicon Valley people don't talk about. And
Correct.
and that's not only Silicon Valley, but Silicon Valley is the Mecca. But if the Mecca is doing it, you know, what do you think other people are doing? I mean, men can be their own worst enemy. They can be out of control, you know. So it's
Right.
unfortunate it happens, and I've heard the stories, and so more than anything, you've got an ally over here. I'm a big supporter of what you're doing. So I'm just giving you a hard time, you
Thank
know,
you.
because you showed up with
No.
the LAPD and the helicopter over you, and I had to give you I had to give you some grief about that.
Oh
So
my
we're
God.
whereabouts in
Now,
whereabouts in
you know what?
Canada?
I will be so afraid to ever go to Los Angeles now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Whereabouts in Canada is your partner?
She's in Ontario, which is
Fantastic.
really right above where I live. So it's kind of funny.
So am I. This is
Oh.
fantastic. I'm excited for you. And listen,
Thank
if
you.
you
I
want to
mean,
take
it's
me up on if you want to take me up
uh-huh.
on my offer, just send me a DM. We're connected on LinkedIn, and
Oh
we'll
yeah.
make it happen.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
I
oh,
really
we are.
appreciate it.
Oh my God, I'm
I started out in LinkedIn when LinkedIn was first started.
yeah,
Okay.
me
And
too.
so the policy that I had at that time was anytime someone made a request, hey, can I connect? I would just connect. So yeah, I'm so sorry that I don't really know who I'm connected to. But
Hey, and that's you and
I've just been the connector.
millions of other people who just click accept and click invite. But now you have a friend, an ally, and someone who's here to support and amplify you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, it is a very taboo topic to talk about, the patriarchy system within tech. So it's going to be an interesting ride. I know from my own experience when I was in SEO, I was one of the few females at that time. And just, you know, being able to listen in but not really say anything was was a way. It was a way of working. So creating a show like this gives us a voice, and it gives us that sense of feeling, I hate the word empowered, but it's going to be empowering, I guess.
Yeah,
So
there's no shame in saying it.
no, it just
Can,
sounds
can I
so
ask?
abrasive when people go empowered. It feels like, because the word empowerment to me means that I didn't have any. And so no, I have plenty of power. It's just that, you know, I guess it gives us more of a bigger voice, I guess is the proper way to put it.
Yeah, I don't think
So yeah, so no bros, no tech bros coming to our show anytime soon.
that's
But I will
right.
say this, they will turn into our show though.
And they should, because they something. Now, let me ask you this. How come you don't I'm looking at your LinkedIn, so I'm gonna critique it. Whether you like it or
go ahead.
not, but here we go.
Go ahead.
You have a banner there, a billboard. Actually, can I use your billboard and put my stuff on it? Because you're not using it. Your banner is empty.
Yeah, oh really?
Yeah, that's free. That's like a billboard. Like, if you don't want to put your stuff, you can put my stuff on your billboard. Shoot, I'll give you my graphic.
What? Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah, no, I had something years ago. I took it out. So yeah, that's a
Well,
good
why
point.
don't you put this one right here? You have a graphic that I'm looking at. Why don't you put that on there so people can know that your show is? I mean, if there's like a free billboard, it's like right there, right behind your profile picture, I'd put your show graphic right there. Did you do yours in
Oh,
Canva?
thanks.
Did you do yours
did
in
not make the
Canva?
graphic. I
didn't
did not make the graphic.
Okay. Whoever did it, make sure that they do it to the dimensions of that banner, the LinkedIn banner, and it'll look really good.
Yeah. What other dimensions do you
Okay.
know?
What are the dimensions?
Say that
You know
again.
what? I don't know what are the dimensions, but I just go into Canva and say LinkedIn banner, and it fits perfect. So
I just
but
go
there
to
is a
Online
dimension.
Converter and
Yeah.
ask for a JPEG.
Hey, you're a tech person. You got this, right? So
You are right, though. It seems a shame not to use it, because it is very good, isn't it? Like, it's right
yeah,
there.
like I was offering mine. You can use my bag. You can promote me. If you don't want to promote yourself,
Why? What does yours look like? No, it's
It-
okay.
it's
I mean, nothing
something.
personal.
I did it myself. I'm not a professional graphic designer, so I use Canva. If you can do Word, you can do Canva, right? But
For the most part.
yeah.
For the most part.
I've learned a few tricks, but could mine be better? Absolutely. But
Better than nothing.
Yeah, I have no idea what yours looks like. I'll have to take a look.
Or you just have to click on my LinkedIn banner or to my LinkedIn.
I'll have
We're
to-
first connections, so
We are. Oh,
yes.
So it's a 4-to-1
I'm so
ratio.
sorry.
It's 1584 to 396.
I think I did it.
You did the what? The band?
Oh, I see. Yours is this one. It's Time to Be Seen.
That's me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see. Oh, okay. Very nice. So I just put mine up.
Oh, you
But
did.
you
Okay, let
can't
me
see her
move.
name. I have to redo it because you can't see my co-host's name.
Yeah, you might have to move it. Let me see. Let me critique it. Let me see.
I think I might just do the word spot talk now. Mm.
Well, you know what? There's this thing called AI.
No.
The signal.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. I can tell something what to do.
I think Keith's trying to
yeah.
get a word in.
The signal
sorry.
for me is really bad. So what I might do, I might. You guys keep talking though if you want, because Restream doesn't end. But I might end the stream because the signal is very bad. This is the main reason I don't do video. This is the main reason. I can't get a strong enough signal to sort of stay stable here in Australia. And I'm just wearing that. I'm just sort of leaning into it. No point complaining. I can't do anything about it. We're just a long way away, and the court's very long. I'm just going to jump out of the stream, and then we'll just continue chatting after that.
Thank you for the advice.
Oh, that's no problem at all. I'm here to help.
It's a
Okay.
fantastic, isn't it a fantastic format though? Don't you think it's a, maybe Bill Gates will want to sponsor next year, but isn't it a fantastic format? Isn't it just the coolest thing? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So my system's going to collapse, and I've been going for 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So I might just grab some lunch. Bez, if you want, next week
mhm.
we can plug in your Focusrite. It's a bloody good unit. It's a shame to have it in the shed. Like, you got to get it out of the box. It's a shame. It's a good unit. You got a Ferrari in
Yeah.
there.
So I need to figure out, because I need to figure out some type of switching system, because I've got the P4. I've got now, but the P4 is like right now, if I want to use the P4, I have to unplug my Go XLR and put the P4 in. I got to figure out some system where I can get it all in. Gotta figure that out. But I think I have
They're
too
all-
much equipment.
Well,
so-
you do. They're all the same. You only need one car, right? I mean, you can't drive a Ferrari and a Lamborghini at the same time.
all I wanted was 6
Yeah, but it doesn't
guitars.
keep you from collecting them all.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you
They
can't.
look great.
Just have different days, right? So
Exactly.
this Focusrite, very good unit, man. It's a very good unit. Like, it's the top of the tree. It's a shame to have that sort of sitting there. I'm a bit.
It sounds good, especially if you do music.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
got
wow.
it sounds really good. So it's just sitting in the corner. Yeah.
But it's
Like,
disproportionately expensive for that. It's a lot dearer. So why don't we next week? I've got the sound check.
It costs
sorted.
less than my Go XLR. That's why I bought it. And there was a
Well, if it's
battery on
just-
Go XLR.
If it's just collecting dust, I'll send you $100 and pay for shipping. How's that?
Well. Let me think.
Let me
about
let
that.
it sit in the box.
No. I'm gonna pull it
Wow.
out now. Since Keith is making
No,
me,
now
because
he's gonna exactly. Sorry.
Keith made
go
me
ahead.
pull out my Go XLR, which it was in a box, and I was showing up with my iPhone, and I plugged in my wired Apple earbuds, and I used isolation mode, and nobody could tell the difference except Keith.
Wow.
Well,
everybody's
Stephen
thought, why
Bartlett
do you
could tell
use
the difference. Stephen Bartlett could tell the difference.
Yeah.
Have you got a 6.5 cord for the headphones? This is such a good unit. Like, all of the stuff here is pro. It's a 6.5 cable for the headphones. Big one.
See,
You probably have an adapter.
I think so. I think I have an adapter. You mean for the headphones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got an adapter. Absolutely. I'm adaptered out. I've got, I collect stuff. I collect dust too. So I just need to get rid of the dust.
I tried dusting. It doesn't work. Comes back, doesn't it? It comes back. So,
Right.
mate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get some lunch. But if you want, I've got a show already planned. If you want to try this next week,
Yeah.
to have a go at it, it should plug and play, and there'll be a definite noticeable difference in. This is the top of the tree product. Like, this is the top as far as you can go. I think
Okay,
it's
we can
number
do
one
that.
above this.
So it's a Tuesday night, right?
Yeah, 8, same as yesterday. Exactly the
It's
same.
a-
Yesterday.
Oh, Sunday. You want to do it sound
No,
check, or do you want to do it? Huh?
Yesterday was Monday
sound check.
night for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, which was Tuesday for you.
Yeah. And
Um,
next Wednesday, I'm interviewing Camilla Americo. If she turns up, I haven't heard from her. Fuck, this pisses me off. People just don't turn up. It pisses me off.
Keith, if a week before they're not, I would just say sorry, you're out. Not in a mean way. Say, hey, let's reschedule you, because what I would do is I would have a queue because, and part of it is honoring your time too, right? Because you don't want to come up to the last minute and all of a sudden they don't show up because you're planning for that, right? If a week before they haven't done anything I've told them, they're out. I'll just say, and I don't know, it's up to you, but there's a lot of people won't reschedule. People that don't do, because if they're going to be on the show, they've got to honor that they're going to be on your show, right? I mean, I think we're all here would not do that to each other, would not ghost each other if we promised we're going to be on a show, right? Am I wrong or
No,
am I right?
you're right.
So if somebody doesn't
You're
show
right.
up for a week, or if you're chasing them for 4 weeks, I don't know. I wouldn't be. I would be professional, but I may never call them again. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. It's just I think that's rude.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
I've lost the signal so many times. I better kill it. So you guys enjoy your day. I've got 2 new shows tomorrow, next week. If you want to come, I really want to pick up on this Focusrite, and I specifically want to pick up on this time thing. America, did you solve that? This time stamp, how it's mucking it up.
I opened a ticket with LinkedIn today, and they have a 24 to 48 hour service level agreement. So I would expect by the end of the week, I'll hear something from them.
Okay. No
So
worries.
even when we go in manually and change the date, it's what our viewership sees. Like I got invited to a show at 3 p.m. today, and it said the show was at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Now I kind of clued in that they're in a different time zone, but it kind of throws your audience off because, hey, well, it's 3 o'clock. This is a stale dated show. I'm not going to go. I'm not adding it to my calendar. And then I went in and I tested shows that are happening now, and I clicked to join, and they had ended already. So definitely a glitch. So I reported it to LinkedIn today, and maybe it's isolated, maybe it's just in Canada, or it's isolated to regions.
I don't know.
Something happened today to me similar, but there was somebody said, "Hey, they put out a post early in the morning, join us at this time," and put all the times, and or some of us they never provided the link, and I don't know what happened, but that's sort of strange that LinkedIn